T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Coolest reptile podcast in the world. Special edition farewell podcast to my good buddy Brian Barczyk. You're in for a treat. To all my fellow Barczyk lovers out there, this is for all you, and more importantly, Brian, this is for you, my man. What is good, everyone? I'm your boy MJ. Happy Friday, man! We're here on a Friday night. I'm super pumped. Normally, I'm not live on a Friday night, but it is Friday. I'm with you guys. I'm so honored. I'm so blessed to be doing a tribute to our friend, our brother, Brian Barczyk. You know, man, something to lose, right? Unbelievable. And I know it's not real to a lot of you guys as well, but you know, I think hopefully after tonight, it's going to give us some sort of bit more, you know, I guess momentum towards closure. You know, everyone has their different ways of dealing with closure and whatnot. I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with this, but either way, I do know I'm going to feel really great after tonight. So be ready. It's going to be awesome. Either way, this is going to be an awesome night. So if this is your first time hanging out and you're into reptiles, you're into animals, but more importantly, if you're really into the reptiles, you want to learn how to breed them properly, if you want to learn from some of the best doing it in the industry, this is going to be the podcast to subscribe to, all right? So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here on this channel. You can also listen to Trap Talk Reptile Podcast on all the audio platforms, Buzzsprout, Apple, Google, Spotify, okay? So thank you, all right? And if you are a fellow Barczyk lover, hit that like button, all right? Why don't you get the likes up right now? Get this out of the way. Get the lights up. Let's get the energy going. Shout out to everyone in the early birds, in the chats. But tonight's episode, I have my good buddy Brian Kusko, who I'm about to bring in right now, right? And I couldn't think of a fellow co-host for tonight to just sit down with me and kind of just go back and forth on some of the thoughts of Brian Barczyk. You know, I have so many things that connect me to, you know, the first time I ever did a podcast in person with Barczyk and, you know, Kusko. And there's just a lot of stuff in there. So I will tell you right now, it's going to be an awesome show. All right. So if you're in the live chats tonight, guys, if you have an important topic or, you know, some sort of question or whatever that you want to add to tonight's show, drop a super chat. Super chats get priority. I do want to say shout out to all the love and support in the live chats tonight. But be ready. It's going to be an epic show, and we're going to get to it. All right. So guys, get ready for the farewell Brian Barczyk Trap Talk Reptile Podcast episode with my buddy Brian Kusko. Let's go. Cheers.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crowd, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it.
Brian Kusko, here he is.
Dude, that clip of Vince or of Vin and Dave standing up to show his underwear.
You know, I try to update like all the clips from previous years, but there's just certain clips you can't update, and that's a clip that just has to stay. And of course, there's other clips that are staying for life. I feel like on that intro that came from Dave. Just so many iconic moments from Dave Levison. So I just want to say shout out to Dave Levison. Shout out to you, Brian Kusko. Thank you for being here on a Friday night, my man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's crazy how life is crazy, first and foremost, and then it gets crazier. Some good crazy, some bad crazy, right? And I think I've reached out to you recently asking for help with balancing the good crazy and the bad crazy. And as much as you gave me great advice, you then vented yourself and told me that you were on the same boat, you know, and man, it's just so different when you have kids, bro. And well, I got to say kid, but I can only imagine your plate, you know,
it's full plate. It's a good plate.
Full plate, right? And I feel like as being men and being, you know, fathers, we got to balance the plate as much as we can. Like we can't fumble the plate, you know, and sometimes there's just things that land on that plate that just keep it's like you, no matter your strength, it just makes you fumble. And I'm not saying I'm struggling with Barczyk, but I go back and forth with feeling like it's real and feeling like it's not, you know, and then I have to really check myself when I feel that it's real, because I kind of go like old Forest mode and want to melt down, you know, and so I don't know. Right now, I want to say it's kind of, I'm kind of scared on how I'm balancing things. I'm doing it, but I want to know how you feel. Like, what's going on with you, man?
There's moments, you know, it comes and goes. Like I did a video, you know, it's kind of like it was before he actually left, and just kind of talking about memories. You know, I wanted to share them. I wanted him to be able to see it while he was still able to watch it here in this physical plane of YouTube land. And so hopefully he did get to catch it, but it was, and in that, you know, I was actually kind of amazed in the comment section of that video I put out about how not just well received it was, but also how many believers there are in their community. It blew my mind. You know, there's just so many. There's actually only one single negative comment I saw in that whole thing, and it wasn't even. And even the person who left it was kind of like back and forth about whether they should even leave it, mostly because of how like. And I knew this would be hard to understand for a lot of people, possibly, is like the joy I was feeling for him in his profession of faith and where he knew he was going. I had joy for him for that in that moment. But then there's still moments of, you know, there's still sadness. There's of him not being here to just like call on the phone and talk to, and just thinking about his family and them missing him and his physical presence and you know, the fact that he's got like that Noah's going to have, you know, his first kid like next month. And the thing about that stuff starts to get really sad. And I watched the vlog this morning, and it was like super inspiring to see like how well Noah is carrying, like is obviously stepping into big shoes of his father. But I can see that he's got, like, I can see in his eyes that he's like, I'm going to do this for my dad and for himself, which is the huge thing. He's not just doing it for his dad, but he's also doing it for himself and for everyone, how everybody's going to step in, because those are big shoes. I mean, Brian Barczyk, those are enormous.
I don't know. I mean, and I love Noah, Jesus Christ, but still, like, Noah could be the spitting, and not that he's not the spitting image, but like, Noah always done his thing. Noah, he edits, but, you know, stayed behind the scenes. But let's just say Noah was so thirsty for Brian's position, and he did everything that Brian wanted to do. You still can't fill those shoes. Like, it's shoes, they're impossible shoes to fill, but that doesn't mean the era can't progress into what Noah could and Lori could possibly do to it. Like, there's a lot of opportunities, and Brian left a lot of roads for them to take. Like, it's, you know what I mean? So True. It's just scary, bro. Like, I love, like, you know, okay, my wife always asks me, why are you getting that, right? I'm sure a lot of guys go through that. Why do you need that? And I'm like, I know why I need it. But then you look at like what Barczyk is on that level with adding shit into his life. When he had a comfortable stack in his bank account, I'm sure, before all this legacy shit. Like, he was doing really well. Like, there was really nothing for him to actually be concerned about. But then it all changed when the legacy dream started, you know? And Barczyk being Barczyk, fucking full gas, no stop. It's
man, he's one of the most driven people, and he talked about that a bit with me. You know, there was a good moment I got to have with him. I went up to see him with um spacing his name. I don't know why. I keep thinking Andy, but it wasn't Andy. Anyway, I got there before he did. Morph Mixology. That I don't know.
Oh yeah, what's his name? I forget his name.
Jason.
Jason. Yeah,
And,
Bigler.
So, yeah,
Jason
right.
Bigler. How can
So
you
we were both going there to hang out with him before a Tinley show. Yeah, I rerouted my thing to go meet him up there instead, and I got him before Jason did. So it was one of the rare times, and I talked about this on my video too. I don't want to share too many stuff that I've already shared 100 times because I've done that. But it was a rare moment that it was just Brian and I for a bit, you know, and because it's always been, there's always other folks around, whether it's the crew or, you know, at his house with his family, or there even the time we went to Indonesia and went off that island, like we were riding with, you know, the drivers in the car, or we went to the village and we were with those elders going down to the caves. But that was the only time that I actually spent like a whole day with Brian, just he and I, just like driving around, getting food. And he's talked about it before with me on the phone and stuff about like, yeah, it was demons. A demon of his like was how driven and how he doesn't feel ever good enough, and that he had to keep working hard to like earn his own approval, or, you know, his demon's approval of like being good enough and working hard enough to succeed in whatever his aspirations are. So he was he is the most driven person I've ever met on this planet, as far as like how much he's willing to take onto his plate and how much he's just going to do and how much work he's going to put into it. And he's talking about how comfortable his bank account might have been. He never really bought, like, I remember he was driving that old vehicle for forever. I mean, he finally got a new truck probably when he could afford 20 of them. He finally got a truck for himself. But everything that he earned in all the hard work he put in, he just poured back into the things he was working on. He did that from the beginning with YouTube and with everything he's done. I think he's done that, just taking whatever he gets and pours it back into what he's working on to put out to that's ultimately benefiting other people. He's not just sitting, you know, I mean, it's not like he was living in a shack, but compared to what he could probably afford, maybe it was kind of a shack, but it was like his home, you know.
If anyone paid attention to Brian Barczyk, you'll notice that things started changing in that man's life when he started kicking back on breeding, when he started not focusing so much on the ball pythons and everything that was like getting him to where he was. And his passion was the fucking people, right? He wanted to create something for people to come and check out where it's like a win-win situation. And that win-win brought him so many opportunities, which led to like endless, like let's think about it. Like he was able to capitalize on YouTube when money was fucking really good. Like before YouTube got really more strict and where it was now. Come on, dude. Barczyk, Jay, there's only a couple guys, and you know this, who were making that crazy fucking money at that time. You know what I'm saying? But he put it, instead of putting it into breeding, he put it into what his dream was. Like, and think about how ballsy that was. He didn't think that was he was scared about the Reptarium, dude. Like he didn't think that was gonna work out. And almost a scary thing is like almost the same levels of legacy. The same way he opened up the Reptarium, you know, thinking it wasn't gonna be successful. It's a little different. I feel like he believes the legacy will be successful, but look at the money behind it. Like, how many videos did he put out saying that they need this money? And it's like, fuck, like my heart kept pounding every time I saw videos at like knowing that there were like still 50 grand and 100,000, all this money behind. And it's just like, what kind of human, like what kind of machine is built like that, bro? Like,
yeah, well, you can pour money into things and that ultimately won't do anything. It's the energy, it's that humans, it's that spirit, it's that soul that you put into something. You pour your soul into something, there's gonna be fruit. You know, you can pour money into something and we'll just watch it be a pit. That's what people describe a money pit. It's like you just keep throwing money at it, just keeps like disappearing and nothing works out. But when you pour your soul into something like Brian did, that's when it works out. And the cool thing there, especially after watching this morning's vlog, like, yes, he's gone from this earth and he's created a crew of I hate to say crew because it's a family. It's a family he's created. Yeah. His immediate family there at the Reptarium, and his Noah and Lori, of course, are both hard. Lori is one of the hardest working people too. I mean, every time I go there, she's always working. She's just like, she's a workhorse, man. That woman is physically and mentally strong. And so I have no doubt that it's not going to be an issue of money. It's the energy is there. Jay and Brian and Noah and I'm already calling Noah Brian and Lori, that whole crew that they've got between all of them. I think they can muster enough energy that Brian had. That's the crazy thing to think about. It's like it takes a lot of people to muster as much energy as this single Brian Barczyk had. It takes a lot. It takes a team to muster that much energy.
But newsflash for anyone who don't know this, Lori runs the show. Lori's built for this shit. Like Lori has it in her because she does so much. Like, Brian was the face. Barczyk's the face.
Absolutely.
Animal lover. But you know how much it takes to run everything that this man was doing? Like the Reptile Army, the merch, like everything to sustain income at that fucking place come because Lori holds that shit down, bro.
Yeah, every time I've gone there, she's just working, just like grinding, working, whether it's like taking care of her own body or working at the shop and like making sure stuff's getting done. She's working. That's why it was really cool at Animal Con to see her let loose for a little bit and like have a moment and just dance. I've always been, from the first moment I met Lori, I was pretty intimidated, and she's still a pretty intimidating force for me, honestly. Which she's stoked about you, I will say. I remember something I heard her say one time. You weren't there. She was like, "It's like, yeah, MJ, we need some fun people around here." But to dance, like cut a rug, not just like dance, but like get down on the dance floor and just dance and just like let it all go. It was really cool to see her do that at Animal Con this last time around, man. Because that's the only time I've seen that. Usually, I mean, she definitely doesn't mince her words. She says what she's thinking. But to actually like not work to, and just like cut loose and just to witness. I'm sure she has times. I'm not sure, but I assume she has. Sometimes she does that I've not seen, of course. But it was cool to witness her cutting loose, and because I know there was a lot happening in that moment too.
I know one thing to do. I know one thing also that will still stay active and solid more than ever now, even though Barczyk's no longer with us. That like a lot of these relationships that Barczyk has built throughout the many years, Lori's right there with them with these relationships. Like a lot of these people respect Brian Barczyk as much as they respect Lori. It's like a mutual thing. They've always been like a team type deal. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of the formula, a lot of the things that are already happening are still going to be happening. Like I don't see any blemishes in that.
No, definitely not. He's a force of nature. The man set so many wheels in motion that are going to keep turning for, hopefully it's eternity. It seems that way. It seems like it's going to be eternity. There's a lot of wheels set in motion that aren't going to stop because of that man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I mean, how much of you, like, I haven't really been paying attention, but have they even given a potential like launch date of the Legacy, or is that not being spoke about yet?
I haven't heard. Well, I mean, they were originally hoping for like before Christmas at one point. So these things go, these kind of projects. There's always getting pushed back by this or that, and let alone the battle he was going through, which is going to cause some kind of cutback, fault, or holdbacks on progress. No, I don't know of a date. I'm planning to go when the grand opening happens, but I don't know when that is. Otherwise, I would have booked my ticket already.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you agree with me on this because, you've definitely spoken to Barczyk. Like you said, there's been times where you spend a whole day with them. And one thing I always know with Barczyk is like he'll drop names, real familiar names, and tell you cool stories about these people. And you would never thought like, God damn, Barczyk, you know everyone. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking like on a global standard, and who's a neighbor reptile country of ours that we love doing business with. And I want to say they help us and we help them. Like what
Mexico.
Country? Okay, almost.
Sorry.
Almost. But go higher, go north. Don't go south.
I know what you were saying. I just wanted to say Mexico instead.
Right. So I'm not saying Mexico. What other country would that be, Brian? Please answer.
The other country attached to the United States. Sorry, I'm shifting.
So Canada, right?
Oh yeah, Canada. That's the one.
Damn it, Brian. Fuck, dude. Canada. And I respect so many breeders, and I'm gonna have to demographic this one, ball python breeders, because that's really majority of the people I know out of Canada are ball python breeders.
Ooh, I've got a big love for Canada. Actually, I'm actually gonna watch UFC. I like UFC as well. The UFC is in Toronto tomorrow,
Right.
so I've been thinking about my Canadian folks specifically because of that. Because I've been watching the build up stuff and like thinking about Canada and how long it's been since I've been up there. Because actually, the first time I went to Canada first time I went to Canada for reptiles was with Brian.
Right.
I wasn't sure if I was going to make it across the border or not.
Yeah.
And we did. But yeah, and that was awesome. That was the first time I got to meet a lot of people really, but Mark Mandic was particularly hey there.
Mark Mandic, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, you did the intro for me. This was awesome. Mark Mandic.
Oh, that was cool.
Live. I'm live from the country just to the north of you. The big
the big one. It's so big.
Of dirt.
Sometimes I look at the maps too closely and I can't see. It's like it's so huge. It's just like I can't see it. I got to step back from the map to be able to see it.
We're the country that shared the longest border with you. We're the #1 trading country with the United States.
Mark, he almost said Alaska. I could see.
I was waiting for it.
I was like, dude, what's wrong with Brian? Can you answer it? But no, okay. Mr. Mark Mandic in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Marcus Jane, Reptiles. How you doing, sir? Good to have you.
Great. Thanks for having me on. This is a great thing.
What's even greater is like one of the things I loved about the first episode of me and yours, Mark, was you're a food guy. You love food, and not only do you love it, you get down on cooking it, and then I heard stories. Shout out to Mark Bailey. Mark Bailey told me about how Barczyk's had dinner at your place.
Yeah,
more than one occasion. But I know you have a cool memory or story you might want to share for everyone tonight. Being a good friend of Brian Barczyk, so why don't you maybe give us one?
Well, when you asked me to be on the show, and hi Brian, how are you?
Hi Mark, good to see you, man. Dude, Mark is also, for those of you guys who haven't met Mark yet, man. If you get to meet Mark in person, what a stand-up dude. You know what I'm talking about. We've had our moments together. You're just a dude that's full of love, man. It's really awesome.
I want to meet him.
It's easy to be that way around you, Brian, because you have that I don't know what it's. I don't want to call it the X factor, but you're just such a likable person right off the bat. It's a gift, and you're genuine. Which is a great segue into talking about Brian, because when you asked me to be on the show, I wanted to share the one thing that kept on popping into my head was that Brian was always Brian. When I got into ball pythons, I bought my first ball pythons in 1999. I think I went to Daytona in 2001 was the first time I went down to Florida, because NRBC didn't exist, and there were a lot of names that were basically unapproachable. But, if you go back into the history of the ball python industry, there was Mark Bell, there was Kevin McCurley, Pete Call, and there was Brian Barczyk. And Brian Barczyk was the guy you wanted to be around, because he was so nice and so down to earth and so approachable. And for guys like me, I mean, this was 24 years ago that I got to meet him. For guys like me to be treated so well by an individual that was so high up the ladder. I mean, I was just buying my first ball pythons, and I bought some nice ball pythons from Brian. The first I bought my first clown, and it was insane. It was so reduced, and that was the clown that basically spawned the Blade project. It had Blade in it, and you know, I narrowed it down and figured out this gene, and nobody had named it at this point. So I said, heck, I'm going to start calling it the Blade, and it stuck. But I always gave Brian credit. That's where the snake came from. And Sean bought one as well. It was always great. And what was also, you know, the memories I have, I remember at Daytona, after the show, Brian would always have a dinner, and we were staying, I forget what it was the big hotel there. And he would reserve a room, and it'd be a long table, and it was all full of his customers, basically his friends. And, you know, none of the other name guys were sitting at the table. There were people like me and people like Oz, and, you know, people like Justin Kabilka. And I don't specifically remember Justin being there, but I'm sure he was there. And I'm telling you, there were like 30, 40 people sitting at this table, and we'd all be talking, and Brian would be at the head of the table. And it wasn't that he was at the head of the table because he thought he was more special than anybody else. He kind of looked out for us. You know, he was genuinely interested in making sure we succeeded with our dreams. And it was really special. And he always paid. He always bought us all, paid for everybody. Yeah. And, you know, without hesitation. And I thought, wow, you know, it's like sitting at the table with the Godfather without the attitude, you know?
Yeah. Felt special.
It really was. And it was so freaking genuine. Brian was always Brian. And, you know, we went to, when the NRBC started, and we went there for the first show, and he says, hey, we're all going to a steakhouse. And we went to this steakhouse, and we were all sitting there, and it took us a while to get in. And, you know, the waiter came over. He says, what do you guys do? And he said, well, you know, why don't you try and guess what we do? And, you know, not one of us, we were all different, you know. Yeah. There wasn't one of us that looked like we were a snake breeder, you know. And then Brian says, yeah, we you know, he had this really cool demeanor. Yeah, you know, we breed snakes and whatever. And it was magical. And I remember, you know, sitting beside this guy, a guy, never met him before. And we're going around, we're looking at the menu, you know, what to order. And he says, yeah, I feel like a steak. And I said, get the ribeye. He said, the ribeye? What's a ribeye? And I said, you know, it's good with the bone in when you cook it. You get more flavor and whatever. And he bought the ribeye, and he looked at me. He said, man, this is the best steak I've ever had. And I said, I'm glad. And we've been friends ever since. And that was Oz, you know? Wow. And yeah, it's, I mean, that's what I hold in my heart, that I got to see the real Brian. I got to see the real human. And he was special. He was special.
You know, because you guys could all admit that you see that. Let's say you're the outsider looking in, and you come across Brian Barczyk's channel, especially where he was at, where he was headed. Yeah, you say to yourself, "What a special guy!" Like you wonder, like this guy is something else. And then you meet him, and you realize he's exactly how he is, how that energy, that love that he's portraying on camera. He gives that to you in person. It doesn't change. The excitement, the like, oh, have you not seen this before? Like rushes you over there. throws you the keys to his goddamn private collection, his zoo, around your neck, and say, "Go have fun." You know what I mean? When I just can't imagine, like, okay, I had a phone call with Justin Kabelka about something completely different, and I tell him, I was like, I take what I do very serious, and I get it. Like, I love what I do, man. Like, this is my life. Like, I love it. Like, I wouldn't want any other way but to do what I do, and I take it very serious. And with Brian, it just never felt like it just felt so welcoming to be wherever you were invited with this guy. You were having the time of your life. And it was just such an awesome, genuine feeling to be around. I mean, I never met anyone like Brian Barczyk, hands down. I can't compare him to nobody. You meet a lot of people in this world, and you could compare them to a lot of other people. You can't compare Brian Barczyk to nobody else. And that's the
sign of the one in a million kind of people.
1%.
When you growing up, there'll never be another John Wayne. There'll never be another Sean Connery. There'll never be, there are certain characters, there'll never be another David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. And it just, and Brian, there'll never be another Brian. That was a one-off. I will say that I do believe, and a lot of people don't know, when I first got into the snakes, I was working for a TV station, and that's when Brian, the crocodile hunter, was really big. And Brian, he wanted to have his own TV show. I mean, it was, YouTube wasn't that big at the time. We used to spend hours talking on the phone about TV and, what to do and whatever. And the one thing, I always said to Brian, I said, "Brian, be careful what you wish for, because it might come true. And you got to know how to handle it if it comes true." Because fame brings a different kind of challenge to your life. Yeah. And you have to know how to handle it, because you can be in an audience and have 500 people cheering for you, but if you have one person in the back booing, that's who you're going to focus on. So I said, you need to know how to handle this before you go down this road. And if you want to go down this road, I know you're going to be successful, but it's not all, celebrity isn't everything it's cut out to be. And, and I know, Brian suffered from depression and anxiety and things like that. And it broke my heart when he came here. The last time he came here, I think, was in 2016. And he just called me out of the blue, and he said, hey man, you mind if I come over and, shoot a segment? And I said, yeah, hell yeah, come on over. So he came over, and we shot a segment and everything in the snake room. And, getting back to cooking, I said, you just do what you got to do. And I started cooking for him. And I posted that picture a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was so, food is my love language.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a way to communicate.
And to be able to cook for him and sit down and have a conversation with him was pretty cool. And what was really cool was I had a friend here that was helping me out. He didn't know Brian was coming, and he was the biggest Brian fan, like huge. So Brian came in the house. I said, Brian, just sit in the kitchen there. I'm going to make some coffee. I'll be right back. So I went and I got my buddy. I said, yeah, I just made coffee. Come on, which I always, made coffee. I said, come on in. And he walked in, and Brian was sitting there. The look on his face, was unbelievable. But, to bring people that much joy, which I think that's what we got to remember, is he did that.
Yep.
And that's truly what he wanted to do. was bring people joy.
Yeah. He was passionate.
Above everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I that day, I was thinking of getting into the podcast business. I mean, who would do that, right?
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, and I had the microphone set up, and I said, "Hey, Brian, how about we do my first podcast right now? We'll do an interview. I'll record it." And I had a little Zoom recorder, and I think it was Zoom 5 or whatever it was, and we sat here for an hour and a half, and we did an interview. I've never released the interview. I don't know if I still have it.
Wow.
But I'm going to try and find it. But it was really interesting because we got into some really deep stuff about feelings, emotions, people, the way people treat people.
Yeah.
It was, and I remember playing it for Jane. I took it upstairs and I put it in my laptop. I said, "I want you to hear this." And at the end of it, she said, "You're not going to leave me when you're famous, are you?" And I went, "That'll never happen." But it was really, I thought it was a great interview. So I'm going to try and find it. And if I do, I'm going to let you broadcast it.
Man, please do. That'd be amazing. And I will say, you know, one thing about Brian, like, okay, if you look at any individual and you wonder, how did they get to this point of just like he had something in him that I felt only became bigger throughout time, right? I think, like you said, the more he added and the more he accomplished, he kept adding more goals. Like the guy just wouldn't stop. Okay.
No, he persevered, man. And I'll tell you, there were some bumps in the road.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, how does a wildfire really start? It spreads, right? And I want to tell you, there was things happening to this man that he held on, and he had a hard time letting go some of the shit, but that was his fuel. And, oh, man, what's nuts is, like, ever since Brian just, you know, I always watch this stuff, but not religiously as I've been watching it when he announced that he had cancer. Like, it's been me and my wife's thing every morning for, like, the last 9-10 months. But since then, I get these random videos from Barczyk like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm like, wow, like, and I forget, like, I remember seeing this one, but one of the ones that are popping up, and it just popped up recently. Out of all the time I've been looking at them, recently the cyberbullying one came up, and that fucking shit hurt me so much. Like to hear him not only like, yeah, it was really about like it was about him, what he was going through, but really about how this is really affecting people out there, and how really like over 5,000 teens are killing themselves over this. You know what I mean? It was more of an awareness thing, you know, but like he doesn't, I felt like Barczyk never let go of that shit. And that just drove him to the point of just wanting to prove a lot of people wrong, like a lot. And obviously he did it for himself and other reasons, but man, somebody poked that fire. Too many people poked that fire that I feel like led to where he was at, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. People are cruel. You know, I would love to wake up in the morning and go, you know, we live on a wonderful planet and all people have good in them and they're all fundamentally good and whatever, but they're not. No. I'm sorry. They're not. Yeah, you know, we have to somebody brought up, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they brought up a point. They said, you want to see how cruel humans can be? They said, take a new kid and inject them into a playground with some kids that don't know them. And you'll quickly learn human nature. Look, unfortunately, that's the truth. But fortunately, we don't have to subscribe to that. We can be above that. We can be better than that. We can be nicer to people. We can be kinder to people. We can be more helpful to people. We can educate people. We can do good things. That's our choice. It can't be their choice. And that was Brian's choice. Yeah. Brian's choice was to be good to people.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways. Like, let's just say someone's antagonizing you, picking on you, talking about you. There's so many ways that you could go about it, right? So many ways that I'm not proud of how I go about it, but he was just so good at just putting his fucking work to the test and just like he proved himself. Like he never got involved in comments, never really partaked in the shit, even though he knew it was all going on. All he did was work harder. And like, you just can't take that away from that guy. It got to the point to where whoever was talking shit about Brian was like, you could tell they are really like, they're old news. And it's like, dude, get over it now. Like, come on. Like this is not really relevant at this point. And everyone knows that churn. I think it was like 2019 or something when all that shit just started transitioning to, you know, everyone just shut their mouth about it. And because he was showing nothing but great positive things and bringing in so many people from the outside world, in the outside reptile world coming in, you know? Like I got so many family members. I got so many family members I don't even know that watched Barczyk that reached out to me because they saw him on TMZ or something. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were fortunate to have him for the brief time that we had him.
Yeah, too soon. But like you said, a lot of the greats go too soon. A lot of the greats. You know what I mean?
And it seems to be more prevalent today. Because of, you know, different situations where people choose to do things that, you know, because of how people treat them.
Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, you know, all you got to do is turn on the news every day, look at the news, and you'll see there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. And it's, you know, I have mixed emotions about what I'm about to say. And I'm going to be 67 in another couple of weeks.
You look great.
And well, thank you. And I like to think I have a really good life. I'm really happy. I wake up happy. I wake up appreciating everything in life. But I'd like to say what I said to Brian, be careful what you wish for because it might come true. You have to realize that today's a different world. Yeah. And when you put yourself out there, you have no control of what people are going to think about you, regardless of how you behave. You have no control of what they're going to say about you, regardless of how you behave. Yes. You can be an absolute saint, and there will be people that find fault in you and want to voice it. And we live in a world, I grew up in a world where my friends were people that I called on the phone, that I actually had to dial. I mean, we eventually got those push button things. That was kind of cool. But, you know, there was a cord at the end of the phone. And if you wanted to arrange something, you actually got on the phone and talked. Now it's all text, it's all message, it's all whatever. And lo and behold, we're on Facebook and we've got 5,000 fucking friends. Like, what? You know?
Yeah.
Real. Keep real right here. Appreciate it and tell them, you know. But if you think that the more is going to make your life merrier, you're mistaken. You're just mistaken. Yeah. And I know Brian suffered from a lot of anxiety and depression and whatever. And that was brought on by, you know, different people that had different motives. So, yeah, you know, you got to, everything in moderation. And being famous isn't everything it's cut out to be.
It ain't meant for everyone that much.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, amazing stuff, Mark. I don't want to take up too much of your night. And we have my next guest that's going to drop in right now. So I want to say, Mark, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for, like you know, you're a huge impact to the entire ball python community. And even further than that, like I've heard stories about people not even attached to the ball python community who respect you and whatnot. So I got to say, for being around as long as you have, and people still like to talk about you in a great positive way, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, being able to talk about Brian. And Brian, it was great seeing you again. I love
Great
you.
to see you too, man. I love you too, brother. I'm hoping to make my way up to the old cold north before the end of this year. So
it is cold right now. I mean, it is cold.
I know.
But the other day, I have some friends that live in Weatherford, Texas. They're horse trainers. It was colder there than here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. So, anyways, it's been a pleasure, guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Mark. Take care. Give it up for Mark Mandic, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night, Mark.
All right. Take care.
All right, man. You know, listen.
Mark's an awesome dude, man.
Oh,
he's a good cat right there.
Top tier right there. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I know a lot of people are busy, but I really try to look at, like, here's the thing. Barczyk, he's associated with almost everyone. He really gave everyone the time of day, but he really like hung around with some of the best people doing it in their field. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he attracted. And Mark Mandic's one of those individuals, like the best to ever do the ball pythons, period. You know what I mean? But, you know, we're going to be transitioning to another part of the country that's not as cold. All right.
Another part of which country? Of Canada? Another part of Canada that's not as cold?
Different part of the world.
Okay.
God damn it. I want
to make sure we have our facts straight here.
Different part of the world in this country, United States. This guy's American. Fuck. He loves this country. All right. But where he's at, it's a lot warmer and nothing to do with ball pythons. I mean, it is, but it's more like feeding time for him.
How warm? Is it not like iguanas dropping out of trees?
It probably is, man. But here he is, Tyler Nolan, all right, out of South Florida in the building. What's up, Tyler?
What up, guys?
What's up, Tyler?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you good or what? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing? Happy Friday night. Thanks for dropping in. And
thanks, bro.
Dude, good to, the circumstances, not, obviously not the best, but wow, man, Barczyk, you were at Animal Con. You killed it at Animal Con, and I just know you're an important person to Barczyk. So thought I'd invite you to maybe share, like, maybe your favorite Barczyk memory or something you want to share.
Man, I mean, dude, honestly, I've been working all day. I haven't caught any of this podcast yet.
You're good.
But I just saw that last minute and a half of whatever y'all were just talking about, and I mean, honestly, the thing that resonated with me with Brian the most was just like the transparency with everything, and just how honest he was, and how like other celebrities and other like famous people, they kind of like, everybody puts on their persona, and like, they act all big and bad and tough. They don't act like, they don't ever have hardships and shit like that,
Right.
But Brian caught my attention. I didn't even start watching Brian's videos, honestly, for like snakes and shit, because I mean, all he does is colubrids and non-venomous shit, so it's not like I watched him for that. I started watching all the videos that he was posting, dude, back in the day, about like anxiety and depression and shit like that, bro, because that's what hits me, dog. Like, even now, bro, like, I make everything look fucking copacetic online. And so did Brian 90% of the time, but he also kept it super real with everybody, bro. And like,
yeah,
a lot of people you kind of like feel like you can't really talk to about shit like that, because that's real, dude. Anxiety and depression is, dude, something. And especially now that I'm a dad, now you're a fucking dad,
bro. This fool has 4.
Yeah, that's insane, bro. I don't even understand people like that, bro. I'm one and done, dude.
We'll get there. Give us some time. She's still growing. Once she gets a little older, you're like, oh, she needs a brother or a sister, and it's gonna give yourself some time. Give your girl some time.
Dude, my anxiety level though has been through the freaking roof though, and like the thing that has been helping me, not the most. It's definitely, there's lots of great help, but like, the thing with Brian that was crazy is what he found out in April.
That was March. I actually know it was March, right? March is when he found out. Yeah, it was right before Chile. Right before Chile.
Fucking longer, bro.
Yeah, probably.
Found out in March, and instead of, bro, if I found out about, I'm just gonna keep it real, dog. Like,
yeah,
I'm not doing that shit anymore. Like I'm just gonna
I'll
spend some time with my family and fucking peace out of here, bro. Like, bro, he stepped it up to the plate and he made sure that like, and that's a selfish thing for me to do, but like I just know how I am, and like that would put me down to the dumps, bro. Finding out something like that would just like fucking rock my world, bro. And Brian like never fucking stopped, bro. And I'm over here dealing with my petty shit. Well, he's got terminal cancer, bro, and he's still pushing hard, bro. Like
hard.
Putting out videos every fucking day, bro. Taking care of his crew, taking care of his family, bro. Making sure everybody was good after he's gone, bro. Like still his legacy, that whole shit, that's real, bro. It's crazy. So that's probably my biggest thing with Brian was just how admirable he was with all that stuff.
I said before you came on, Tyler, like I you know, because Mark mentioned how a lot of people want to wish things in this world, but if you get what you wish for a lot in this life, right? And if you get something you wish for, you know, you got to be ready for it. And a lot of the stuff that Brian had to deal with was becoming more famous, you know, because with more fame, more hate, you know, it's just, you know, that more than anything, like, you know, and that could really deteriorate someone's, like, not only game plan in life, but their mental state. Like it deteriorates you almost. And Brian cared a lot. Like he was before everyone got to the point where like, don't look at the comments, like fuck a hater. This is before all that. Like, and he would really take a lot of the shit that was being said about him to fucking heart. And a lot of it was just out of just left field bullshit. You know what I mean? But like that could
really ignore that shit though. Because I mean, yeah, I get it all the time, bro. Especially
but a lot easier said.
It's a co-president, you're a dad. It's like,
but definitely a lot easier said than done, though, right? Like some people aren't built the same to handle that shit. Like it's hard.
This is all I know, bro. I just do my thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. I just know that yeah, dude. I'm glad you always came through for the guy because I always, you know. A lot of people could play the whole like I'm too busy shit or whatever the fuck, but that was never your energy with the guy. I always see that you were down to collab with him. And
Brian was always like, Brian was never too busy for anyone, bro. And imagine how busy, because I'm busy, bro, and I can only imagine how busy he was. Like that's a whole nother level of busy that just like, dude, I'm already struggling with the amount of crap that I got to do on a daily basis, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. Well, I know anything new at a you know, guys our age, man, to take on something new, especially like a kid, holy God, it changes everything. It rocks the whole world, you know. And like I was telling Kusko when we first started, we gotta learn how to balance shit, even when we lose somebody like this. And but losing someone like this, bro, like holy, like you want to talk about a gap, you know, like taking something out of this reptile world. That was a guy. Like it's pretty crazy how much he kept a lot of us together, you know, because let's be really, you know, politics is fucking bullshit, but it's a part of what we do. Brian did everything in his power to not let that get in the way of whatever that he was doing. Like if he didn't give a fuck, if he didn't fuck with that person, he's going to try to fuck with whoever he wants to fuck with, you know? And I learned a lot off that because I wasn't like that at first, you know? And I'm still not like that, but I'm learning.
You got to be careful who you're friends with first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Especially in this industry or fucking most industry.
But like, just like anyone else, man, some people have strengths and some people have weaknesses, you know what I mean? And my strength is not giving a fuck. Like, I really don't give a fuck. And I know that was a big weakness for Brian, and as far as like he cared so much about people, like
a lot of fucks.
Yeah. Anyways,
hats off to Noah though too. Like I've been seeing, I mean, they're still posting every single day, bro. Like
today's video,
like it was weird. Like
today's video was really good, really tough too. But
bro, that video that he just posted yesterday. Noah, what was it? It was like saying goodbye or something on Brian's page, but it was just like Noah, like just walking around the reptarium with the freaking rhino going on his shoulder, and it was just like, I don't know. He's just like a young Brian, bro. So it's kind of cool that Noah's stepping up, and I'm pretty stoked to see that. And you could still, like what Noah was saying, like Noah, he still feels his dad's presence with him all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And dude, even just watching that video, I felt like I was watching Brian back in the day, like talking about his feelings and shit, and like all that. And it was just, I was like, damn, man, like hats off to Noah and freaking and Jay and everybody that's making the wheels turn still.
Yeah, it's a whole team thing over there, man. And
Crazy.
And what's nuts is like, man, the oil, the machine just kept functioning perfectly when, as Brian kept, going what he was going through. But Brian went out looking at a vlog. Can you believe that shit? One of the last things he was
crazy
for was looking at a fucking vlog that no one was gonna post. And that's all, dude. He bred, bleed, and fucking slept this shit. This is all he ever wanted to do, man. And it showed it. And what's crazy too, guys, is at first I'm like, why is he showing this? Because it's fucking. At first I'm like, dude, this is nuts. Like, go enjoy the rest of your time with your family. But like you said, it was so selfless because he was giving us all peace. Like by showing what he showed us, it kept a lot of us from freaking out. It really did. It was like a peaceful way to see. It was probably one of the most peaceful ways to see someone you really love and enjoy on social media.
Tough, that was tough, though. Like I remember when he posted the goodbye video in the hospital bed. I just got to work, bro, and my client just flew from I think it was North Carolina or something. And bro, I'm just sitting in the back of my shop crying my eyes out, dude, just watching that. It was just. It's crazy, bro. It's really surreal how fucking fast your life can change, bro. So fast. You know what I mean? I'm about to be 36, bro. And just the older I get, even somebody when I was younger told me, they were like, yo, the older you get, the more of your friends that you lose. And then you're really going to start thinking about life. And I really didn't fucking think about it in my 20s until I got into my 30s and started losing really close friends and family members, And it really just hits you harder than anything else, bro.
Now you got a unit, bro. It's more of a unit for you now. And it's you have priorities within that unit that matters. And Brian has a fucking mini army. And so it's and that's what matters is what's in front of you every morning, what you wake up to and what you care, what's under the roof. You know what I mean?
And how your attitude is also. Because if you wake up thinking that today's going to suck.
Yeah, it's not.
It is.
And it's going to be hard, and it's going to fucking be this, and it's going to be that. And guess what? It's probably going to suck, But if you wake up, what was the beginning that Brian put in his vlogs? It was make today awesome. Exactly. Make today awesome. That was the first fucking thing that he said. Make today awesome. Wake up in the morning. Yeah, maybe some life is shitting on you right now, but it's got to make the best of it because we only got one life, and it's all up to the people to make shit happen for themselves. So, look what Brian did. Brian fucking was battling cancer and still busting his ass on a daily basis.
Yeah. He was like I said, there's one of a kind in almost any sport or almost anything we love. There's that one, that great, and that's Brian Barczyk in our world, It's
still crazy. It's still just weird.
Like I said, I go back and forth. It's weird, and I try to just harness and maintain because I've already had my blowouts. I cried like a goddamn baby, and I just know that it's just he's still here in a sense. Look, we're talking about him. It's like
what do you say in that video? He's like my name's. He's like you only live as long as people talk about you or some shit like that.
Bro, we're not gonna ever stop talking about that guy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody ever will. He's like Steve Irwin, bro. Everybody's still fucking balls to the walls about Steve Irwin. He's been dead for 10 years.
Yeah, but Steve Irwin didn't have YouTube. Barczyk had YouTube, so he reached a lot of people, bro, which is nuts.
Yeah, no, but it is nuts. Yeah.
But listen, hey, go be a dad, Tyler. Go enjoy your night. I appreciate you just stopping.
Everybody's sleeping. I'm gonna go chill.
Yeah, go chill. Your animals are good. But guys, give it up for the homie Tyler Nolan. I appreciate you, man. Have a good night, bro.
Hey guys, good seeing you, Brian, too.
You too, bro.
What a good guy, man. Yeah, and listen, okay, true or false? Barczyk, regardless how you felt of whoever the fuck case was, he fucked with whoever he wanted to associate with. He knew who were good people in his heart, and he never let anyone convince him otherwise.
I may have convinced him of a couple people at one point. Well, we won't talk about that.
All right, listen, appreciate Tyler Nolan for coming by, but I want to bring someone who is kind of man, this guy I would want to say is someone who's probably definitely as blessed as I am as far as the way he met Barczyk, because he was able to build a relationship with Barczyk and be there, during a lot of crucial times. You know him because you've been on trips with him, and I've met him. He's actually, I don't know if he used to be from San Diego, but he was also a good friend of Forrest Fanning's, which is even awesome. You know what I mean? But shout out to the homie Andy Gabbs tapping in with us right now, who's muted. If you could unmute yourself, that'd be great.
My bad. What's up, guys?
What's up, Andy?
How you doing, man? Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, gents. I'm good, man. It's been nice sitting here listening to you guys talk. It's been an emotional day for me. I am currently in Orlando. I'm not from San Diego. I was stationed in San Diego. That's where we met when I was in the Navy. Yeah, I used to live there for sure. From Boston though, but I'm down in Orlando, and today I went to Gatorland. Brought my family out to Gatorland, and Kusko, I don't know if you remember that little food, the food area. It was like me, you, Brian, Noah, Lori. We were all sitting at the tables at the very end of the night.
That long ago, man.
Well,
I
okay,
remember.
yeah.
I'm not that old yet.
You're pretty old.
Wow.
We sat there and we ate, and it kind of just like hit me that was the last spot that I got to see Brian, and I gave him a hug right outside of that little area, that little culvert, and that was rough, man. That hurt for sure. I don't want to make everything really sad right away, but it just being there again, and like we sat and watched a show on that stage where Brian went up and talked to all of the creators for Animal Con. It was just different knowing that it's not going to happen again, I guess. It hurt a little bit, but it was an amazing day, and it was great to, take my daughter there and be able to show her, what daddy does when I go on all of the trips and I go and film the cool videos with the cool people, because she doesn't get to go a lot. And it was nice being able to show her that.
Yeah. I mean, because that's going to instill in her, obviously, man. Like, she won't forget that,
Yeah.
And one of the things, and I hope one day I could be more appealing to children and reach that demographic, or maybe not. I don't know, but Barczyk was so good at it. Like Barczyk could reach anything, and he's like you could put him on during a family like gathering, and it's gonna be appropriate. You know what I mean? I mean, for the most part,
for sure.
And that was the key. Like, like he didn't cuss. Like he did things to make it welcoming, and some people like just don't care about that, but he cared about making sure everyone's having a good time if they're watching it. You know what I mean? But without being phony, like that was him. Like he wanted everyone to have a good time. Like that's what he cared about the most.
Well, yeah, so that's like one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, Andy's down to have a good time too, man. We're hanging out. That's one of the cool things about Andy's. Like, I'll do, man. If it's gonna make the time more better, I'll do it. Let's do this. I'll do this. If I can make you guys laugh and have a good time, I'm gonna do it. That was fun to see that happen, especially when Brian was around. I feel like Brian was a, what's that word? What do you call him?
An
enabler.
Enabler. There you go. An egg honor. Enabler. No, he definitely was. I did want to say two things. So someone made a comment that I've been sitting here reading the comment while I was waiting to join. He said, Brian showed it's okay that your heroes struggle too.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it was. I'm sorry. I didn't write your name down. I just typed the comment into my phone. But when you guys were talking about, showing the journey, and when he made the decision to announce that he had cancer, because he told me it was a few days or maybe a couple weeks before that video came out that the diagnosis did not go the way that he wanted it to. And I knew that meant he had cancer. He didn't say those words. And I was very, very, very curious if he was going to show and he was going to document, the whole process, because, I mean, we all knew Brian for the happy-go-lucky guy and not the skinny, in pain version that he was. Now, he put a good face on and he covered, how he was actually feeling really, really well for a decent majority of the time. But there was definitely still times in those videos that he struggled and he was in pain. And I think it helped people, and the process of healing of him showing that, because of like that person that made that comment is your hero struggle too, and it's okay. And, not just with the health battles, but with the mental health and things like that. I just think it was a very cool thing that Brian showed. And then what MJ was talking about, just being nice to everyone. I'm just a normal dude. And Brian, like, I've been to his house multiple times, slept in his house. Me and Noah have crashed in his bed together. That was just where the guest room was, or where my guest room was. and I was just a normal guy, and Brian treated me like family, and that's how he was with everyone. Every single person that's been sad or that's, you know, made a video, there's people saying that they're clout chasing, and I really don't think that's true. I think Brian was such a genuine person to all of the people that he met that he made people feel like family, and people were that connected to him just because of how nice he was. And it's a pretty cool thing to see.
Man, like, oh man, it just, like, I know I have, like, I mean, Brian, this is why I want you here tonight. And Andy, we're homies, but man, like, Kusko's been a lot. He's been through a lot of my fucking obstacles, man. Like, Brian, you know it. I mean, you've seen throughout my whole career on this goddamn podcasting scene that I've gone to you with a lot of my like what do I do now type things, right? But with Brian, bro, like he always, like I said, my biggest thing, my biggest enemy was myself, because the way I respond, right? The way someone attacks me, MJ attacks back. That's fucking MJ, right? But then that's always ammunition for someone to say, well, you went too far, or you should have never said that, right? Brian Barczyk never gave anyone that ammunition, ever. He just was so good at say what you want about me. Go ahead and start a Facebook group page, even though I'm on suicidal fucking watch because of it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna, like, you know, like, it just made me learn like how much digger soul searching I need to really do with myself, because I feel like I'm so far from that, bro. Like, I'm very quick to react, and I am very, like, I know that after I say something, okay, you shouldn't have said that, but like, it's only gonna get, as long as I'm on the scene and I'm doing this, it's only gonna get crazier and crazier. So
For sure. Go ahead, Kusko.
I wasn't saying anything. I was just nodding in agreement.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I like, so it used to bother him, right? Like that stuff. He made that the one video that was kind of like, I think, his breaking point with all of the bullshit that people said and the meanness, that Facebook group that is now shut down, thank God. He let it get to him to the point that he made that video, and then after that point, I think that's when he got that mentality that you were talking about, MJ. Just the fuck it, I don't care. Say whatever you want to say. You're not going to hurt me anymore. And I think that was like a true point of healing for him. And it was nice to see.
And what's crazy is, like, I'm telling you, man, like, Barczyk was ahead of his time, and his plans, like, everything you saw Barczyk roll out, he's been thinking it. And the crazy thing about Barczyk is he knew that what's the point of even talking to these fucking people when I'm about to do some of the biggest thing in the reptile world that no one's ever seen. And he'd rather focus on that versus focus on people who probably were so miserable. And that's the thing, man. At the end of the day, let's think about someone who has all the time in the world to bash or shit on someone in comments. They must have a really, really bad, miserable life. You know what I mean? Like, there must be a lot going on, and I don't have time. You know what I mean? So,
What is happening right now? Is there like a party happening?
yeah, it's pretty loud, but it's all good. Listen, Andy, I appreciate you stopping by, all right? I appreciate you so much. I want to say, don't do drugs tonight. Say no to drugs.
No, there's not a part. I'm in Orlando with my whole entire family. We're about to go on a cruise. So right to my right is my whole entire family. I asked them to be quiet. Sorry, y'all.
Family, bro. Listen, Andy, I really appreciate you. I really do. Enjoy your time. Be safe, and take care, Andy. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Love y'all. Peace.
All right, Andy, love you, bro.
I don't want to say anything, but
Yeah, hey, I got on that level. I meant to ask you this again. Is your mic on, or are you talking through your laptop?
No, my mic better be on. My mic has to be on.
Just making sure.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh, I hate my. Why don't you tell me that?
I thought about it in the beginning, but then you were doing your thing, and it's like slipped out, and the next thing I know, Mark's on.
No, why would you do that?
Hey,
anyway.
At least I noticed, like, at some point, I reminded me when I heard all that stuff in the background. I was like, "Wait, is that an MJ's or Andy's?"
No, that's the noise wasn't me, was it? I don't even know.
No, it was Andy's background noise.
And that's
Sorry,
why
I meant to. It popped in my brain towards the beginning, but I like spaced it when you did your intro or something. It's not because it's not that bad going through the laptop. The mic sounds better, obviously.
You forgot about Canada. God bless. So I'm not even fucking.
Hey, I was obviously joking. I know what countries we border.
All right. Well,
Hawaii.
look, can you guys hear me now? I guess I'm sure you guys could hear me the whole time, right? It just wasn't on this level. Now you can hear me, right?
Yeah, no, you could hear you the whole time. It was fine. It's just not as clean as coming through the SM7B.
Before I bring the next guest in, and this is a personal thing I'm going to say on this show, you need to teach me what's the other one? Not StreamYard, because I hate StreamYard.
I got a lot of things I need to teach you still, but it's only as much as you're willing to learn these things. So,
well, you tell me. Anyways, we'll learn less. Okay, let's move to the next guest. Okay, because this next person is also very important because not only does it involve Brian Barczyk and his memories of Barczyk, but also involves force fanning. All right, another good combination of feeling good tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Stephen Kush, the good old Stephen Kush in the building.
What's up, guys?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Just
fresh from the gym?
Relatively fresh from the gym, yeah. So still got the endorphins running a little bit.
Listen, Stephen, one thing I've always admired about you is like, you know, you're not a typical human in the reptile world because how far back you and the reptile world go. Like you're a different breed. And ever since I met you, I'm like, how old is this guy really? Like you don't carry yourself to be the age that you were, but now you're old. You're grown up now. You're old.
I think Stephen was 16 when I met him, but he was definitely. Was that right? You were about 16.
16.
But you were definitely mature. I think I even commented it on you the day I met you. I was like, "You're 16. You're pretty mature for 60."
Yeah, I learned early on that if I wanted people to sell me snakes, I had to act like I was older than I was. So I had to learn quickly.
And honestly, okay, a lot of people taught me like, calm down, MJ, right? But Stephen Kush did really well in the beginning at 17 years old or 18 to be like, MJ, like he tried guiding me, didn't work. But I'm just saying, like, I was like, wow, this young kid's mentality is great. And I'm like fucking 12 years older than him. And I'm like, anyways, I always appreciate so much about you being a reptile, you know, lover and just keeper, but your history with everything, man. Like you go back to some OG Tinley days, okay? Yeah. Barczyk. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't need to speak for you, but why don't you tell us what Barczyk was to you at what point in your life, and how young and how far back you can even think of as far as that goes. I can hear you, by the way.
Yeah, you know, it'll forever be one of the most vivid memories of my entire life. You know, I was a kid like the rest of us who loved reptiles and just wanted to learn. But I was that age in a really unique time where the internet was, you know, where all the information was starting to go, but kind of before the takeover of social media. And that perfectly coincides with the early days of snake bites. So, you know, the easiest and probably the best way, other than, you know, like books and whatnot, to get information, especially for an 8-year-old, was YouTube. And I kept seeing all these videos, Snake Bites TV, before I understood the play on words there. And I thought it was just going to be a bunch of videos, people getting bitten by snakes. And I was afraid of that at the time. So eventually I was like, you know what, it's going to be part of this. This is what I want to do. Let's take the dive and watch some of these videos. And obviously come to find out, it's not entirely what it was. But the one video that always stuck with me was, it was an early video, and I'm almost certain the title was that Snakes Make Me Money. So I'm like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And the video opened in the old facility in front of the wall of baby racks in the Python room, scene that all of us can probably, you know, picture in our minds. And the opening line of the show was Brian saying something along the lines of like, hey, so people ask me all the time, how do I pay for all of this? Well, I breed snakes for a living. And that was just like this light bulb moment in my head. I was like, you can fucking do that? Like, that's incredible. So, you know, little 8-9-year-old me saw that on YouTube and was like, all right, I found my thing. And, you know, I branched out as all of us do to, you know, learn other information and, you know, do all the digging I could. But those videos were always kind of a standard for me. And, you know, one thing that'll always be one of my fondest memories, and, you know, Brian, you were right there along with it, was that trip down to Florida at the end of 2018. That was just, you know, that was a magical week. There was no other way to describe it. And, you know, I remember all the different steps of how that came to be. You know, Forrest and I were hanging out in Indianapolis. I was just there for a weekend when I was still in school. And, you know, by the end of it, it was like, all right, we should plan a trip to go down to Florida, hit a bunch of facilities, see a bunch of cool stuff. And, planning took a while, and Forrest was Forrest and forgot about it for weeks at a time. And I had to keep bugging him. I was like, I don't want to be this kid who's annoying, but goddamn, do I want to go on this trip? And I was at the gym one evening, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you cool if Barczyk and Noah come along in the trip?" I'm like, "What do you think?" I'm like, that'd be fucking incredible. And then Miguel came along, Brian came along. Savannah.
Next thing you know, Steven was in the back seat the whole time.
Quiet, not saying a word.
No, not saying a word for most of the drive. It was painful, but it was definitely worth it to be back there. But man, that week was just so special. And the thing that really kind of stuck out to me as far as Brian went was that he was just the coolest, most down to earth guy when the cameras were off. And I mean, even when the cameras were on, but you never really know with most people who have some sort of celebrity status, which honestly, in the history of our industry, there's really two people that you can call mainstream celebrities. And it was Brian and Steve Irwin, and from what I've heard about Steve, he wasn't too nice once the cameras were off. Brian could have easily been that guy to people around him. And there was not one 1 inch of that in him. It was just
no, it's like the opposite.
It was really the opposite. He was even more chill and more down to earth off the camera. And that's not to make a comment of how he was on the camera. As much as it was awesome, going to Gatorland like you see in this picture, that picture is perfect. Going to Ty Park's facility, Crutchfield's facility, all the cool places we hit. I think to me the most special times were hanging out at the hotel at the end of the night, all of us, getting food together, just bullshitting, laughing, talking about the industry, hearing Brian's come up story, completely raw and, a version that he's telling people who he's close to, and, learning from that, learning from everyone there. I was 18 years old. If you told that 8-year-old me, this is what you're going to be doing in 10 years, never would that thought have crossed my mind. So
I mean, Steven, look where you're at now. I mean, I know, I'm just saying, like let's kind of look at where everything's at right now. Like, I mean, yeah, you're in a whole new chapter, but fuck, bro, like the productions, things that you stand on are all things that you really love. You know what I mean? And and that's all because that's what Brian taught us. Like, do what you fucking love.
Yeah. And another, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. No, you got it. I'm sorry.
One thing that, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, that really stood out to me was, it was a video I believe you guys did in the Reptarium. It was early, I think maybe even before it was open. It was early in the morning. The light was shining in. You remember this? What I'm talking about?
You mean like an interview style thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how you guys were kind of talking about the genesis of the Reptarium, and Brian said something. I'll paraphrase it about how he got a comment from somebody on a video or a message or something that was like, you've been doing the same thing the same way for so long. Is there going to be something where you evolve in this? And I think he said he kind of took that to heart and kind of made him look at everything. And I thought that was interesting for a few reasons, but I think it speaks to kind of a greater topic about just kind of people in general, especially somebody in his standing at the time who he didn't need to listen to anybody, especially some random comment or message. Like, that person doesn't have to be significant to him, even him being the nice guy that he is. But what I found interesting was that he, despite all of his success and everything he's done, still had that kind of mindset where he was open to new ideas, open to evolving, open to becoming a new person or starting new chapters of his life, not being afraid to think that he's doing something not 100% to where he could be. That's something that I really took to heart, and I try to kind of embody, because I think for all of us, it's really easy to get defensive when somebody points out an area where you could improve yourself or the things you do. Yeah. And, I definitely, as probably most of us do, have that knee-jerk reaction to be defensive. And in a lot of instances, when someone's making a comment like that to you, it's not constructive, and it's just them projecting their feelings towards you. But with that said, if you have that ability to look and be introspective, I think a lot of problems would be fixed that way. And look, for him, he turned basically a wholesale reptile breeding business into what I think is one of the most innovative and cutting edge public animal facilities we've ever seen. And then to branch from there onto the aquarium, that's just taking that and taking it to a whole new level. But I think seeing that was also very inspirational and a pivotal moment for me when I'm still very young, but I was even younger then, to see somebody who I looked up to have such a really incredible mindset. That was another thing that really stuck with me. So, I could go on, but there was definitely a few moments where he influenced my life, whether directly or indirectly, that have probably shaped who I am today, how I carry myself.
And all I'm gonna say, Steven, and you know how big of a fan I've been with you since the gate, bro. And I know mainly because you've always stuck with me, first and foremost. I know it's probably there might have been some times where you could be like, all right, MJ, I'm gonna go this way. But
sometimes.
Same with Kusko though, because you guys know my true intention. Like I just, a little rough around the edges, but I have a big heart and I want to evolve and learn. But I've always admired and appreciated like you being your age, being someone where you're at in life, teaching me something. You know what I'm saying? Like you've always been a good friend to go to. But and I think it is just because a lot of our past connections, not only with Forrest, but even with Barczyk. Yeah. It's just, and like I said, even with Kusko, I just, one of the things I cannot stop preaching about is, other than the reptiles, the second best thing about what we do are the people. Because even if we had the best collection in the world and we didn't share with nobody, come on, how far can that really go? Like, I get it, but you need people, bro. Like, and you gotta be loving about it. Like, without the love part, what's the point? Like, what's really the point without really having the love involved of things? And that's what Barczyk was, is all love. Like, it was just oh man, I don't know.
It was special. It was a special time, special impact from a special person. And it's not over. We're the reptile community, but then on a much larger scale, we'll feel the impact of who Brian was as a person for a very long time. And that's something that I feel like all of us can look up to. And, if you can have that impact on somebody, and that's something that I try to do. I up to this point, I've had so much help and, people who have just taken me under their wing for no reason other than they were just being a nice person. All I feel like I can do is really pay it forward. They had people who were helping them when they were younger, and many of those people never came to me for anything like, hey, I did this for you, you owe me. And those are the kind of people you want, people who are really have that pure, true intention, and just they're giving information because their mentors did it to them, and all you can do is be that person for the next generation when that time comes.
Well said, my Stephen Kush. Well said. I want you to first and foremost enjoy the rest of your night, but also I want to just say thank you for coming through and just being a part of such a special podcast. Like I don't look forward to doing these, but I know after it's all said and done, I'm gonna feel really good after re-listening. But thank you, Stephen.
Yeah. No, it's an honor that you asked me of all people to say a few words. And as sad as all of this is, I think there's going to be a lot of pain for a lot of people, and rightfully so. But there's a whole lot to celebrate here too, and to be really, really happy about. And for all of us to know that his spirit and his essence of who he was, it's not going away anytime soon. And it's on all of us to move that forward and just pay our respects and just be good people the way Brian was good to his people.
Amen.
Amen, my man. All right, Stephen. Have a good night. I appreciate you, buddy. I love you like a brother. And yeah, man. Give it up for my boy Stephen Kush, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night, buddy.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right. All right, one last one. I had to throw one in because he threw Andy in, and I'm gonna throw one in now. So
I didn't throw Andy in.
Okay, this guy right here, another Texan resident. But honestly, like we're talking about people who just are just pillars in the fucking community that they work in, the community within the reptile community, right? We had ball pythons, we had Mark Mandic, right? And then we just had more of the YouTube meat of the things, which Tyler came through. And then we have like the young up and coming stars in this industry like Stephen Kush. All right. But you know what I have behind me is my passion, and that's the chondros. You know I love chondros, right?
I know who's coming in as soon as you said Texas.
And here he comes, Patrick Holmes, ladies and gentlemen. Flex in Texas, my guy. What do you have for us tonight, Patrick? I couldn't pass on you, but what do you have for us tonight, buddy?
First thing I have is to say hi, Brian.
Hi, Patrick. I love you, bro. You're freaking awesome, dude.
Thank you.
If only I had your just dedication to being so. Gosh, you're so disciplined, bro. How can I want to be as disciplined as you someday?
Hey, careful! If you squeeze that hard, he's rock. We will cut back, so be careful. You can't, you gotta careful how you hug this guy.
I don't know, that snake room behind you is a lot neater than the one that's behind me, so maybe that's where your discipline is going.
Fair enough.
You know it's cold in Texas when not only am I wearing a shirt, I'm actually wearing a sweater.
Wow.
Dang.
Crazy, right? I sent you a message a little while ago, Brian, because I was well, you'll see anyways. But it's been too long, man. I need to catch you in the RBC or something soon.
Yes. I'm trying to find the message.
Oh, in Messenger. So when Mark was on earlier, he was talking about Brian and the big dinner and sitting at the head of the table and all that. And I was already kind of thinking about this night because I was sitting here listening to the show, and I'll make this pretty quick. But it's just something that came to mind. First, I'll say that the first time I met Barczyk was in like 2006 or 7 or something. And it was at one of the early NARBC Arlingtons. And my younger brother, Bobby, was a really big fan because he was into the ball python morph thing, which was really like around that time, just really starting to, been going crazy for just, 3 or 4 years. I was familiar with some of the YouTube stuff, and he was like the first, kind of reptile related or reptile breeder YouTube channel that I ever saw. But I remember going to NARBC and meeting him with my brother, and my brother was showing him some pictures of a couple of our chondros and a few other animals. And Brian was like complimenting our collection. And my brother, I thought it was badass, but my brother was like fangirl and geeking out over Brian saying that our snakes were cool. And it was really awesome. And I thought it was so cool that he had this huge setup and so much stuff. And it's an insanely busy show. But when we started talking to him, everything else went away. It was just me and my brother and Brian, and he started pulling out snakes, and we were talking and just showing us stuff. And it was like nobody else was even there. And I thought that was really cool. So fast forward, I don't even remember what year it is, but anybody who's friends with me on Facebook, it's currently my banner photo is from this night that I'm about to talk about. And I got a call from Forrest, who said that he was in town with Barczyk. Maybe they were filming at Bill's or something like that. I can't really remember what they were doing. That's the one right there, man. And I guess this was the hotel maybe that they were staying at, or maybe we were all just meeting up there. I don't remember. But Forrest was like, "Hey, man, see if you can get Ari to come meet up with us tonight so we can kind of just hang out and shoot the shit."
Yeah.
And so I and I believe maybe it also had been at Mark's that night as well. So there's Mark Hager and Forrest Fanning, Brian Barczyk, Ari Flegel, all right there in the picture with me. And Amber took that picture. She was just kind of sitting off to the side and listening to us talk about a bunch of shit that she didn't know anything about at the time. And anyways, the way that Mark was talking about Brian earlier, about the head of the table thing and all that stuff, that night, Brian was saying some of the exact same things about Tom Crutchfield. And I just thought it was super cool to like think how all of us like there's like levels to it chronologically. Like, you know, Mark was looking up to Brian like that. Brian was looking up to Crutchfield in a similar way. He was talking about how when Crutchfield spoke, he like kind of everybody shut up and listened to him. And Brian was on his channel, you know, he's super intense, kind of the Steve Irwin thing, right? Like in your face, and he was loud and animated. And that's, you know, that was one of the things that made his videos so popular, is he would just let the passion that he had just fully express itself. But in person, he was a lot more laid back, and he expressed his passion in a very different way, in a very concise and controlled way. He was a very direct speaker in person, and like I say, very, very different demeanor, but still a super genuine dude, and just a really kind and genuine person, man. And that night, the brief story that I want to tell is that Ari and I had kind of a little sidebar going on. Ari pulls out his cell phone. He had just come back from a trip to Papua, and the Boland's python thing is how I met Ari. It was actually right around the time that Steve Irwin passed in 2006, I want to say. Rustin at the Dallas Zoo, I was asking him questions about Boland's pythons, and he's like, man, if you want to know about Boland's, you need to talk to this guy. And he introduced me to Ari, gave me his number when Ari was still in Arizona. So anyways, just thought I'd throw back that little connection with the Boland's and Steve Irwin. We're sitting there and everybody's talking, and Ari pulls out his cell phone and he shows me this video, and I'm watching the video on the phone that he used to make the video. And Ari, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Ari had his fucking hand in a burrow, and he's filming baby Boland's pythons hatching out in the fucking wild in the mountains in Papua. And it was, I knew he had gone, and I knew that's why he went, but I didn't know that he accomplished the goal that he had been he's been fucking trekking into the mountains in one of the most remote, uncharted areas on the planet to specifically see this event. And this time he nailed it. And he's showing me the video on his cell phone, these baby Boland's pythons hatching. And I'm literally, just like I kind of am right now, I'm trying not to cry when I'm watching this video. And and everybody else is talking, but then I think they like it got a little quiet, and they like realized that we're like having this intense moment together, like huddled over his cell phone. And Brian is like, man, you know what you got? And he kind of turns his phone, and everybody kind of huddles in, and Forrest had that smirk. You know, I know both of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Forrest had like a signature smirk, and he's looking at it, and we're just fucking blown away at what we're seeing. And Ari was so proud about it. And Brian, at the end of this little video, Brian tells Ari, he goes, dude, you might as well just hang it up right now because you have peaked. It doesn't get any cooler than that, man. It just doesn't get any better. And it was a joke, but a compliment at the same time. And it was funny, and it kind of broke up like the intensity of the moment that we were having watching this insane fucking video. But it was just really awesome. I will never forget that night. And obviously Forrest was there with us too. And, you know, it's just like Tyler was talking about earlier. The older you get, you know a lot of people. You're going to know a lot of people that die. It's just death is part of life. It's just what it is. You know, you guys know about my past, and unfortunately, I started being around a lot of that at a lot younger of an age than a lot of people do, and still lose people from that life. And obviously our reptile friends, any community that we're in, we lose people. But I love that I had that experience with both of those guys at the same time. And it was just a really, really special night. And Steven, I'm really glad you brought him on to talk about that. I love listening to Steven talk. He's such a fucking sharp dude and so mature for his age. He really nailed it when he said that, you know, they went and saw all these amazing places, Crutchfield's place and Ty Park's place and all these badass experiences. But he said the most important stuff to him was afterwards and just sitting in a hotel room or getting food together and talking, right? And enjoying life is all about experience and doing awesome fucking things and doing things that you love. But it's also about who you do it with. And the things that make us human, literally what we like in our evolution, what makes us human is sharing food and sharing intimate situations. Sharing big experiences is wonderful too, but it's some of the most important things that you can ever do is just to be present with the people that you love in small groups and eating and talking. And so I never got to go to the Reptarium with Brian there. I really wanted to. And I will, you know, obviously I'll go visit that place at some point. But I just will also always hold it in my heart, the small, intimate experiences that I had with him just those 2 times. Even in the big crowded NARBC, we had a small, intimate experience. And then that little get together that we had in some random hotel room in Richardson, Texas, with just those few guys. It was beautiful. And I always love those little moments. So I'll always remember that about Brian. And anyways, thank you for letting me share that, MJ. I know it's kind of last minute. I just texted MJ randomly and I was like, hey man, I have a story.
And I'm sorry, when Patrick says he has a story, he just has that kind of pull in my world. I'm like, you know what, Patrick, I'm gonna easily fit you in because you're my boy. And but honestly,
Thank
Patrick,
you.
like just how you okay.
Good storyteller too.
I will say the biggest thing I like about a lot of the friends that I bring on my show, I love hearing them talk. Like I just like when they have something to say, I'm intrigued. And I spent my whole life not listening to people. So now that I'm like all excited to actually shut up and hear, even though I don't shut up a lot, but I'm just like, I love like Steven. I've always loved hearing Steven talk. Brian Kusko, from the get-go. You, Patrick, another individual who like when you speak, man, it's like you kind of take the floor because there's something important that you have to say, you know. And I'm glad you came through too, man. And
Thank you.
And like I said, you know, Patrick, you're another individual where I hope you understand the impact that you have on like not only within the chondro community, because I know it's mainly chondro flowers you get, but dude, you have an outreach of a lot of people all around the reptile world that really fucking love you because you do know a lot. A lot of people don't understand how much you really know, but when it comes to people asking you questions, you help everyone, like everyone. So I admire that as well about you. And I know that didn't come overnight. Like you got where you're at in life because you had no easy life, buddy. And we all know. Go watch any Patrick Holmes episode in 2018, 19, and you'll hear his story. But I appreciate you so much, just like anyone else I've had on the show and anyone else I love in this reptile industry. So I thank you, man. Thank you for being so awesome, Patrick.
Thank you. MJ, I can say that I've watched you make a lot of changes over the last few years, but one of them that has been really impressive is watching you become a better listener. And I really, really mean that. Learning to be a good listener is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a good talker. And it's really, really hard. And you have made really serious strides with becoming a good listener and taking in what people say. One of the hardest things is to not be constantly thinking about the next thing that you're going to say and actually being present. And you've gotten really good at it. I really appreciate that and appreciate getting to watch you grow while you're doing this stuff.
Well, thanks for coming along for the ride, bro. But just the beginning.
Yeah.
Trust me, big things popping.
Yeah.
But hey, enjoy the rest of your night. Give Amber my love, guys. Give it up for my buddy Patrick. Gentlemen.
Hey, I love both of you guys. I miss you both, and I hope to see you both in person soon.
Fact.
Yes, sir.
You will, man.
Love you
Have a
too,
good night,
bro.
Patrick. Thank you. Man,
Yeah, Patrick's awesome, dude. I remember the first night we met, actually. Forrest was there. It was at a hotel situation, kind of like that. He was talking about it, very similar, just sitting around the table with a few people at the hotel. And very quickly, I don't remember why or how, but we very quickly went into stories because we have a similar past, he and I, in some respects, as you do as well. And it was, yeah, I just remember how quickly we connected there. And it was like immediate brotherhood and love. So that, yeah, Patrick's awesome, man. Oh, you know, one of the things I haven't heard people talk a lot about Brian and the things I've been listening to, at least, is like how actually, and you know this, how funny he is.
Oh my
Like,
God,
he's so quick,
he's a joker, bro.
super funny, and always just ready to throw something in there, like that thing Patrick just said. I think he said that to me before too. Like, oh yeah, you better just hang it up now because obviously you've peaked. But like with one-liners, and then just also like, I mean, he was just like would be right in there, just hilarious. Like, and it was always just like one or two, just a quick thing, just like he'd just say something kind of with that little smirk on his face. It was,
I learned that. You want to know how I learned that from Brian? Is I remember one time I try not to ask people like Brian for almost anything because he's already like, he's invited me to his place. Like what? I mean, I'm already like tapped out. Like you've done everything. But I remember I was like, Brian, I'm so close to hitting 10K on Instagram. Like, can you help me out? He's like, yeah, sure. Get your phone out. Let's do it. Do a story. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm with Brian Barczyk. And Brian Barczyk grabbed my phone. He's like, hey guys, do me a favor. Go follow this boner right here. He's trying to get to 10K. And I was like, that was the first time I seen him joke with me and like kind of clown me. And like, dude, you don't have real friends unless they're clowning you. I don't give a fuck what you say, but that's how you know you're in someone's good world, is if, you know, they're messing with you. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I agree. I have to agree.
And I also just noticed too, like Brian, like he kept it PG, man. Like he kept it so cordial, right? But if you were to ask him any question, he will tell you. Like I remember there were certain times on certain episodes where I'm like, I'm so scared to ask Brian this question because I either don't want to offend him or I don't want him to be like, well, what do you mean by that? But anytime I had a question like that, he'd tell me, ask me anything. He would fucking tell me, ask me whatever you like. And I'm like, you know what I mean?
Phineas had a good point. Like Brian on the podcast, on the checking in podcast, there's a lot more like off camera. Brian went on camera on that podcast, I would say.
Yeah, you know, because originally he started checking in as like this isn't all about reptiles. Like this is just like we're gonna just chill and have a good time. You know what I mean? And you saw Lori hanging out. They were just kicking it. And that was a good side. But like it's all different when you meet him in person, man. And when you have dinner with him and travel. I mean, shit, you traveled with the guy. You know what I'm saying?
I'm realizing now as people are sharing their stories, like how truly blessed I was to spend as much time as I did with the guy, man. Like we had to spend some pretty good amount of time.
Can I tell you my favorite one of us? Can I?
Yeah, please.
Ready? And I'm sure you remember this because this is when I knew Kusko is he's superhuman. And I'm going to tell you what this was. Okay. Because man, so many, and like I said, there are so many moments where I'm like, I cannot believe I'm hanging out with Brian Barczyk. Like I'm out at the Reptarium. I'm like, and then I'm like, holy God, we're getting invited to his house. Okay. Then we go to his home. And then we're like, he has an asana. And then he has a cold plunge. He has a ice bath. Right. And he's like, who wants to do it? I was like, I'm not going to say no to this, even though I don't know what the fuck I'm about to get into. First time I've ever done an ice bath, right? But do you remember it was just all three of us sitting in the asana, quiet, and Brian was just talking. And I'm trying to think really hard in specifics as far as what the conversation was at that time, but I'll never forget just being there thinking to myself, I cannot believe I'm sitting in a fucking asana right now and Brian, come on, bro. You know what you are to me, man. Like I've told so many people the inspiration you've given me on YouTube from the very first moment I've ever came across your YouTube. And I still think your YouTube is like million subscriber worthy. You don't see content anywhere else like you do on your channel. And I've always felt that way. So to have you there and then have Brian Barczyk, just us three, okay, it was so surreal, bro. And you know, a lot of people ask me, MJ, like, how are you so fired up all the time? That is how I'm fucking fired up all the time. Stuff like that lives with me forever. And now that it's something where I'm like, man, it's sad that I can't never do that again.
There'll be times you can.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, that moment, you know, like that, there was a reason why that moment was so fucking inspiring to me, to where I didn't even have much to say. I just heard him talk. And then remember, you were the first one to go to the ice bath. And then it was just him and I. You know what I mean? And then it even got more surreal because it's just him and I in there now, you know? And the whole time he's prepping me for the ice bath. And I'm like, we're like betting, like, how long do you think Kusko's going to do? And he's like, he'll probably do 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, like tops. Like he won't do 4, or I forgot what it was. What was that you said your goal was? I can't remember. It was like 4 minutes, 4:20. You said 4:20. And I was like, there's no way he's going to do 4:20. And you did 4:20.
You know, since then I've done like 12 minutes.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, but when you
No,
don't
but
know,
it was because, yeah, there was.
when you don't know, you don't know. And I had no fucking clue. I've never felt daggers, little tiny spikes going into my body and not knowing how to breathe. Like, this is before I met Socrates and like knew what to expect. And even when you know what to expect, bro, it is different.
Yeah. Well, that was my first time in one also that night. And I just heard what Lori's was. I knew I wanted to beat Lori's. That was what it was more about. Then 420 is a fun number too, but I was like, what has Lori done? She's like, this one. I was okay. If I can beat Lori, then maybe I'll like not feel as intimidated around her all the time.
You know, only you would want to compete with Lori. No, man, but like, man, and then mind you, that was the first closest moment with Barczyk was that night. But then after that, me and Matthew Summers, we made it a point. Anytime we're at Tinley, we're going straight to Barczyk's. And that's what we did. We did that for almost 3 years straight. And it was, oh man, like, come on, dude. I love feeling like a kid. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's probably easy to tell, right? But I love feeling like a fucking child. And one of my things in life that I enjoyed was like either going to Disneyland or a WWF event or Supercross event or whatever. That was my childhood. Like, oh my God. And that, oh my God, as an adult was going to go see Brian, like Barczyk. Like I remember being just so wiped out after Tinley. And you know how, come on, bro. Like, that was when I was drinking, like fucking pounding. You know what I'm saying? Tinley, if you're trying to go there at Tinley, it's heavy. There's some motherfuckers that just don't sleep. But I would go straight.
I used to be one of them.
I know, me too. And no thank you anymore, man. But holy shit, like, it was like I had that energy in me, like, dude. And I would wake up. I'll never forget the first time Matthew Summers Tinley event. He went to a strip club. He ended up in Bob Boo's fucking little weird van, the black van, and was like, you know, lost his keys. It was a whole mess. But man, I remember shaking him up at 9 a.m. We were all hungover. I'm like, we got to get the fuck to Barczyk's, and we did it, man. And it was just always a hit. Like, showing up to Barczyk's was always the best fucking feeling ever, man. Like, it was the best, and it still will be. It is, because it's like Noah said. You walk into there, you feel Barczyk right away. You're like, is he here? And have you ever walked in to the Reptarium and Barczyk wasn't there, but it felt like he was there? Have you ever experienced that? I mean, you've had the keys. He's given you the whole place before.
Yeah.
How are you not thinking about him while you're in there? Like, you are. Like, it's like everything is Barczyk, and obviously the Reptarium family and team, but his spirit is so heavily active in that place. It's ridiculous. And you will feel good. I know anyone out there walking to the Reptarium, you're going to feel Barczyk for sure. So, but again, I don't know. Definitely didn't expect this. I didn't expect, I don't know. I will tell you right now, man, one of the biggest surreal things I saw was when Barczyk got off of fucking chemo and he started growing his hair back. Like, a sense of me, I got hope. Like, I was like, well, like, he looks good. Like, you know, because you go from chemo. And chemo, oh man, I don't think I've ever been that close to someone who's done chemo. What a fucking, oh man, cancer's terrible, bro. Like, cancer is so fucking bad. Like, it is terrible. And I don't wish that on nobody, you know. And to think, like, someone like Barczyk, if we knew someone like that's going to leave our life, like, why? why can't he just go more peacefully? You know, like to think that he went out with the one of the worst cancers that anyone could possibly get.
I want to give you something. I want to look at the positive side of if there is one of cancer. Somebody told me this one time, and I didn't really think about it either till this person told me this. Was if you had to choose for anyone that you know, anyone that you love, like, okay, they're going to die. They're going to die, and you have two choices. They're going to get cancer, and it's going to take this much amount of time, but they're going to die after this certain amount of time. Or they're going to get hit by a car on their way home before you see them. Which one are you going to pick?
I mean,
I'm just trying to, I know it's not a good thing, but there is that positive side to it. The amount of time, the amount of like of preparation before leaving this world that was there. Listen, I'm just trying to, people are probably going to like look at this and be like, how could you possibly say something good about cancer? Just shut up for a second and think about like the options, like not getting to say goodbye to somebody, or having an amount of time to process with them before they're going to be leaving here, and you know it, and you know that at some point that it's not going to be only a matter of time before they go, and you're going to be able to like they were saying on the video today in the vlog, like having those 2 weeks of him at home and just being able to sit around and tell stories for 2 whole weeks, and just like knowing he was on his way out and being able to like process all of that with him in reality. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, one of the biggest things I loved about having Tyler be a part of this is like he felt exactly how I cried to Lily and told her what I would do. Like if I found out that I only had so much time left, dude, maybe another podcast or so, but I'm fucking gone. Like all this commitment that I've been doing this whole time, like, and I'm sorry that's selfish, but that's my dream. Personally, that's my dream, is to take my wife and my kid and live every day that I could just be with them. But the way Brian did it was so for us. Like it was nuts. It's
and for him too. That was the great thing about Brian. Like all the things he did that he wanted to do ended up being for other people.
Yeah. And I don't know. And like, you know what, death, like this whole thing of what we're talking about is a very touchy subject, bro. Like a lot of people who like either this is their first experience, or let's just say people who've had a lot of experiences, they have their ways of dealing with it. Some people don't even like to talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
I mean, there's one of the comment right now, which I get, you know, that there's obviously people are going to disagree, which is totally fine. They'd rather like not get to say goodbye, not have to watch them suffer and like slowly leave.
Yeah.
Like I get that too. That totally, I could see that side of things. I've had both, you know, with people that I really love and care about, you know, being taken in the blink of an eye, and having slowly, and it's going to be different from person to person, whichever side you're on. You know, whether you're the person that's losing somebody or the person that's leaving the world. Some people would probably prefer to just be like, just take me out. I don't want to know that I'm going. And some people would probably want to have that time to be able to process with their loved ones and make sure everybody's okay before they leave. You know, so it's definitely a subject where you're not going to have everybody agree on, which is true of just about any subject you bring up among people. That's just the way it is. There's always going to be different feelings about anything. So
I would say though, the biggest, like I keep getting these life lessons of like, listen, like you got to figure out a way to not let certain people get to you, you know, because you see, I mean, how many obvious things do you see where you're like, somebody should do something about this. But then again, here we are talking about someone miserable as shit talking in a comment thread, right? Like, what can you do about that? There's really not much you can do. And here's the thing, worst scenarios of that will happen in your fucking life.
You can't control anybody else.
You can't control anybody else. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm just saying there were so many things that Brian had down that I wish I had down. But then also like it was reverse on that too. Like, I think like I said, we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And there's just so many strengths of Brian that I want, you know what I'm saying? But then there's also like some of the stuff I wish he had, which was kind of fucking, you know, have more of a backbone, which he did in a way. Like he did things to keep the brand what it is. Like you just can't say anything bad about Brian Barczyk. All right. I mean, say
well,
whatever.
You can, but I mean, clearly you can't, because they made a whole group. You know, they made a whole Facebook group of people like wanting to do that. So you can, and people, that's the whole thing you're talking about. You can't control other people. And that's a very famous saying. You know, I'll misquote it, but you know, God give me the strength to change the things I need to, and then the wisdom to accept the things I can't. It's something along those lines. But yeah, you can't let other people, but you can't other people's thoughts and feelings and their opinions can affect you, and it can be up to you to either just block it so you're not even looking at it at all, or you can look at it for what it is, which is somebody else's opinion, or you can and be strong enough to like figure out which ones are going to be helping you grow as a person and which ones are just like have no help at all and they're just trying to cut you down, and how to push that aside. And then know that everybody's different. Like everybody wants you to, people are always trying to influence other people all the time, even if they're meaning to or not. There's influence happening. The way somebody's doing something, somebody else watches them like, oh, I love the way they did that. Or somebody else watches them and says, oh, I hate the way they did that. I'm not going to do it like that. And there's influence happening all the time, everywhere. And you either use it for positive or use it for good, or you use it for evil. And that's the choice. But you can't make somebody else's path for them. And if you could die trying, you could waste all your energy, waste in my opinion, all your energy trying to get somebody to do something that they don't want to do. And I do that sometimes too, you know, because I want better for others is usually my motivation. But at the same time, I have to accept when somebody's going to have to do it on their own. And that's ultimately what it is. Somebody's going to have to be the way they're going to be on their own, and they're going to have to want it, because if they don't want to, ultimately they're not going to. This goes to addiction, that goes to all kinds of different things. Unless the person in question wants to do the things, then they're not going to. They might go down the path for a moment, but unless they truly in their heart have a heart change and want to go that path, they're not going to. They'll go back to the path that their heart really wants to drive them down every time.
I just know that there are paths out there that people want to take to better their lives, but it's a lot harder for certain people, bro.
Sure. I mean, one of the reasons that I like you a lot, love you, is because I've seen your heart on many occasions, and where your heart truly is. And otherwise, I wouldn't have you in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like there's definitely some, like as you said, there's some rough stuff about you, some rough stuff around the edges where people would be like, oh, I don't have time for that guy. But I've seen your heart. You know, you've shown me your heart, which I think you've done with a lot of people. Actually, you've been very public about showing your heart, which is a beautiful thing. And that's why I still, you know, whenever you invite me to something, unless I'm dying sick or just, you know, so sick that I can't get out of bed, then I'll come, and I'll be, you know, if you invite me, I'll come, because
but isn't it crazy how, I mean, not that I like wouldn't have invited you, but it's kind of like, it's weird how it worked out, huh? Like how like you were really dog sick, and then yet it kind of saved, I mean, because it just made this even more special that we didn't get to talk until this point. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
true. Well, everything happens for a reason, and I just love that you want to become a better person constantly. That's beautiful. I would love to see everyone strive for that, you know. And I hope that most people in life will get to a point where it's like that. But you also do see a lot of folks where they seem to be pretty happy sitting in their stinky diaper.
Well, it's because, I mean, those people don't feel like they have a way out. Like there's a lot of people who mentality have no motivation to get out of their situation in life, right? And then maybe they do, or they, next thing you know, 20 years goes by and they're in the same fucking situation. Like they never chose to switch things up. And I know, and I don't know, Brian, like you've always been like, I know you've also came a long way in your life, but for me, I always felt like everything's been perfect for you, you know, even though I know that's not it, but I know from what it seems like, just like, man, I wish I had a family like Brian Kusko, and I do. It's a beautiful family, but I know it's not easy. Like I know it's not fucking easy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where I was going to go out with that. I don't know. Well, what were we talking about? This happens every episode.
It's fun. We were just kind of talking about growth. It was getting pretty deep. They were talking about like growth and influence and wanting to do right, but also like how do you deal with people that are trying to influence you in bad ways, and navigating all of that, especially when you're putting everything out on the internet, like Brian did his whole, you know, career. Then like, how do you navigate all this stuff? How did Brian navigate it? How could he have navigated it better? How can we navigate it better? Learn from his example and do our thing our own way while being inspired by him at the same time. That's kind of where we're at, I think. And I mean, just the thing that most people have shared is like how caring and kind and often selfless Brian was pretty much every time he was around people. These are stories I hear from people. I haven't heard a story. I'm not saying it doesn't exist because none of us are perfect, but all of the stories are like how Brian made people feel special and how made them feel like they were worth something and worth time and just was willing to give that. And he made me feel like that all the time too. And that's why I think even if you only had that one time you met him for just a brief moment, or like Patrick saying, you know, that the 2 times that they hung out, like how it impacted him and like because he was just that guy. And he still is that guy. I find myself going back and forth between talking about him in the past tense and the present tense because he is that guy. He might not be here on Earth. And this is something Noah was talking about in this morning's vlog that I thought was absolutely beautiful and very true. Brian is not physically here on this earth today, but Brian is still here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is very familiar to Forrest. I'm telling you right now, bro. Like, before I got as close as I did to Brian, I had Forrest. Like, Forrest was my Barczyk before I even got to Barczyk. And then all of a sudden, I had this guy that I started a podcast with. We spoke ideas every night on the phone. I had no idea he had his struggles or whatever was going on. I just knew that we talked every fucking day on the phone. And then, boom, he's gone. You know what I'm saying? And I felt that, and dude, that's why I went ape shit with the podcast, because I'm like, I started this with him. I'm going to fucking finish it. And I'm going to go hard as fuck. And he put that fire within me. But I always felt his presence, especially when I had people like Patrick and Marshall Mendez on. Like, you don't think I specifically went after people that Forrest like told me to go after when he was alive, you know, and that we didn't bring on. And I felt every time those people said yes to come to my show, like I almost wanted to cry, because I'm like, yes, like this is something Forrest is going to be like, fuck yeah, you did that one. I wanted to hear that one. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like this all over again, you know? But to a whole nother level, buddy, because I'm not going to get into details, but fuck, do I have plans for this shit. And now that I'm so pumped up, it's crazy. Like, I just have something in me right now that is just so lit, just the same way that Forrest did. Okay. And it's kind of like, it's a blessing, but it's also just like, it's a shame. It is a fucking shame because it's too soon. He wasn't done, bro. Barczyk was not done. He was just getting started. And to think everything that Barczyk did, one of the most heartbreaking things that Barczyk texted me was like, I was just getting started too. I was just fucking getting started. And for me, if I would have been in that point of his career passing away, I would think, man, I did everything. I did for him. In his eyes, he's like, nah, man, like this isn't shit. So just to think of that, like the odds
is wild. Think about how much more Brian has done with his life than the majority of people, if we're being honest, and yet feels like he's just getting started. That's incredible. That's incredible.
So you know what? We are, in this sense, we're all getting just started now at this point. You know what I mean? Sorry, my camera keeps unfocusing. But
this is something that I want to like. This idea of how much time do we have? What are we going to do with it? Man, I would love if, and I'm speaking to myself here too. I would love if everyone would take that example and just be, and not forget, you know, it's a moment to moment thing. It's so easy to forget. Just be grateful that we have this time and reflect that gratefulness in our actions and deeds in this world towards each other constantly, which is exactly what Brian would want us to do. That right there.
It literally took something as terrible as cancer to get this man to stop doing what he was doing. Like, it took that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just wouldn't stop. Because when you have that in you, like I have an idea, because I have nights where I just wake up at 4, 5 in the morning and I can't go back to sleep, and I know that either this needs to be done, but I have so much to the purpose. He had so much purpose to get his ass out of fucking bed and just go to work. And bro, I know people, if they think about people who have millions of dollars who still don't have a purpose. Like money, I get it, could bring a lot of things in life, but depending how that comes to you, do you really have a passion in life? Or do you really have a fucking purpose?
Oh,
Why do you think a
all
lot
that
of
goes away.
Why do you think a lot of rich people commit suicide sometimes? Because they don't. What the fuck are they living for? Like this is a bigger gift than money. If you have a purpose in life, that's better than all the money in the world. I'm not gonna lie to you.
100%.
You got to keep that purpose, man. Like, you got to find out what that purpose is. And I know you and I have it, and I'm so blessed and happy we have a purpose. Holy shit, man. God, I don't know what I would do without my purpose.
Probably not a lot.
What can you do?
At least nothing worth doing.
No. And I said on the vlog that I did for Brian today that I don't know where I would be without this reptile world, because where I was headed, there was not much of a purpose. I couldn't even sustain a living life. I was a fucking mess.
Man, and reptile world too, but this is where Brian is definitely outside. Obviously reptiles is his world. Absolutely. How much influence he has outside of that world is crazy. Like you were saying, like you have family members and stuff that are like, my uncle called me the other night, like crying. He doesn't have anything to do with the reptile world. Never watched Brian's videos. He just like caught it on, ABC 7 like news feed or something, and knew that when he saw him, he's like, oh, Brian, that's Brian's friend. It's like how much influence. And then this kid, I call him a kid. He owns his own coffee shop, but he's a kid in my eyes, playing drums at youth group with us the other night. He was like, oh, I'm sorry about Brian. He like has a story of like he said, Brian got him through COVID. This kid, quote, hates snakes. And he said Brian got him through COVID, like with his videos. So how incredible is that?
Yeah. And we could keep going on. Like, dude, there's somebody at a gym that only knows us because I was in the gym industry for a few years, and Lily was too. And we know this guy from like 2016, like years ago, right? And he came up to me at the gym and he put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, I want to let you know something because of you and your wife. I guess one time my wife found out that his daughter likes snakes, and we went to the Reptarium, and she had a bunch of Reptarium stickers. She had like a salt and pepper sticker, and she was like, oh, I'm going to give some of these to his daughters. And she likes snakes. And because of that, his young daughter started watching Brian Barczyk. And then when his beautiful, innocent little daughter found out about Barczyk, she woke up Monday morning of this is last week and asked her dad if they could pray for him, not even knowing what the current situation was. And so he just wanted to let me know that, like, the day they found out was the morning they prayed for him. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, that was and I know the reason why that was touching to him, but you could just see this gloss in his eye like that. Like his little daughter, to have something so pure like this in her heart, it has to make a dad feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like if my kid said that to me at that age, like, let's pray for this person, man, I'd pat myself on the back for sure. And my wife. But like that right there, man, like, oh my God, man, it's just a lot. It's just, kids are everything, bro. I don't know. I love the kids. And that's our future, bro. It's our future. Oh, yeah. And he was so tapped into our future. He was so tapped into the kids, and like Stephen Kush, 8 years old, Stephen Kush watching Barczyk. Fuck, bro.
Speaking of kids, I'm sure a lot of people already saw this, but I just wanted to read this. When I was thinking about it, that I was coming on here tonight, I screenshotted this so I could just read this. Noah wrote this. It said, rest easy, Dad. I love you, and I know everyone that knew you and watched you does too. Build that mansion in heaven for us like you promised. Talk with Jesus, play catch with Zeus, and take him and Artie on a walk for me. I promise I'll take my time here on earth, but I can't wait to hug you again. I know we all wish we could one more time. It's never easy saying goodbye, so I'll just say good night. I love you so much. I wish this wasn't reality. You told me to promise I'll be okay, and I am, but it doesn't mean this is easy until we meet again. Remember to be kind to someone, and I promise I'll see you in the next one.
Oh, man, that gives me chills.
Beautiful. Absolutely
Man, I get
beautiful.
chills, man. You want to talk about how proud he probably was of his son. You know what I mean? And obviously his daughter Jade, and you know, her being a mother of two. You know what I mean? Like you know, God damn it, man. What a beautiful guy. What a beautiful family all around. But I know, you know, Kusko, as much as Barczyk is to me, you being here is just as much as everything. Like everything is everything because you're here too, buddy. And I want you to know that. And like I said, you instilled an inspiration in me that led to now we're hanging out to someone who inspired you, right? And the ladder just kept going up. You know what I'm saying? And I've been telling you and Miguel and all these other amazing people in this industry that just led me to such a good place in my life. And it's all because of the people I know. Like I would not be anything where I am right now without you, Mark Bailey, Miguel, Brian Barczyk, Lori Barczyk, and I could keep going on, but I hope you guys understand this. It is about having an awesome reptile collection that you love, but it's also having people you love around you. You cannot do this without people. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much invested the next level project you have. You're not doing this alone. You're not.
Yeah, I was realizing that more and more. I'm grateful you had, you know, the different guests that came on tonight, because it kind of made me realize, it was like you could keep bringing on guest after guest,
yeah,
after guest, and because of what Brian Barczyk has instilled, I'm blessed to know these guests and like these people that are so wonderfully different and beautiful in all their own ways. And it all stems back from finding those first snake bites TV videos when I moved back from Hawaii and combined my love for snakes with the internet. I was like, oh, look at this guy. And it all blossomed out from there to where now you can just sleep on like anybody's couch in any state and probably most of the countries around the world now because of reptiles and Brian Barczyk. I was like, that's incredible.
I will say, unfortunately, only some. I mean, if you have to be approachable and like good hygiene, because if it's not, I'm just saying, bro. Like, there's some people out there. I'm like, you're not staying at my house. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? But that wasn't you. And I will say, one of the biggest things that Mark Mandic said that hit on the fucking nail, bro, is like, dude, meeting you is like, it is like meeting a Barczyk, you know, because if it's somebody who's watched your content to the point where they're like, man, I feel like I know you. Like, you know, how many people, Brian, have said, I feel like I know you. Like, I feel like I know you so well because I listen to you so much. And you're like, oh, great, this is awesome. And your wife is like, we hear you all the time. And you're like, oh, this is great. But it's like, when you meet that person that you feel like you know so well, like it just kind of hits home. But that person could be a dick in person. That person could be something else. And dude, you're that guy. Like, I call you, you're the industry hippie. Like, you're the most lovable fucking person ever. All right. But Andy Gabbs, don't wrestle this guy because you'll go down, buddy.
that was a fun night.
Oh my God.
I appreciated that.
This was a good night. I appreciate you. We had just shy of 400 people tapped in tonight. All right. Which I obviously all for Brian Barczyk. And
yeah,
thank you so much for everyone. But what do you have to say to anyone out there who just really enjoyed everything that this episode presented as far as for the tribute to Brian?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a question to me? I thought you were asking the chat.
Why would I ask the chat? What do I have to say to?
What do I have to say?
Are you trolling me right now, Brian? Are you like doing a Dave Kaufman? Like, what's going on right now? Like, I feel like you're fucking with me. What's going on?
I to be 100% honest and not making up stuff just to make myself laugh. I was getting lost in like I was still kind of lost in the amazingness of like just all of it, all of this past 10 years. Just kind of like reeling through it real quickly in my mind, and I spaced out for a second while I was doing that. I won't lie. But wow, dude, just I mean, I already said what it was I would want to say. You know, when I said just to do good by Brian. If Brian is somebody who inspired you and you want to continue his legacy and vibe and carry on what it is he started here, he said it, right? He said, just be good to people.
Yeah.
And you have that time, be grateful. You're here on earth and you have influence, no matter who you think you are or what you think you do or how small you might think your influence is. As a person on this earth, you have influence. Use it for good and lead by example.
Man, and, it's, one thing that Brian, he always said this, but it really obviously hits home as it's one of his last words to all of us. And all that matters is to be kind to people, because let's just say you have a reason not to be kind. Like I was saying, like I get attacked, I attack back, right? I'm going to be 100% honest with you, Kusko. Anytime I responded the way I typically would respond, or quick reaction and say something very mean, I feel like a piece of shit afterwards. I may feel like I got my point across and let's say I won the battle, but really as a human, I devalue myself. Like it doesn't make me feel like the hero I want to be in my fucking movie. You know what I'm saying? Barczyk was a real hero. Like he was a real hero. Say what you want to the guy. He's going to be kind to you. And I pray, and maybe you could pray for me, Brian, but I pray I could get a little bit of that in me. Like where okay, MJ, they went after your wife, or they went after whatever. Like they said so much where you should fucking lose it, but don't give them that. You know what I'm saying?
I've been praying for you. There's actually, I haven't necessarily told you this, but there's actually groups of people that are praying for you, bro. And yeah, absolutely. With all the stuff you're saying right there, like to an extent, you need to defend yourself when it comes physically. If somebody comes physically attacking your wife, like it's time to shut that down. But you're right. Like people will say things, and it's easy to let it affect you. But
oh man,
we're told to turn the other cheek in those situations. So
I know, and I don't know. I just wish I didn't struggle so much with certain things, Well, I know I've been trying. I know I've been working hard at things, and I just feel like it's not getting better. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like it's not like I'm still too vulnerable, And I don't know. It's just to hear that people are praying for me is it's crazy.
You can call me anytime, bro. Listen, you know that there's no like, I call me anytime. If my phone's next to me, like I'm gonna answer it. If I'm not running or in the middle of when I'm having dinner with the family, I put my phone away. But you can call me anytime, dude. Like anytime. And that goes for really anybody out there. I put my number out there. Like that's not in vain. It's to like if somebody really needs somebody to talk to, like just call. The text message is fine too, but if you really are in a moment, like have text messages are rough. I've got 744 unread ones. But if you call me and you're not a telemarketer, I'm gonna answer. But that especially goes for you, bro. I mean, you're sometimes I apologize to anybody that did call me and I didn't answer, because if I didn't have the number on my phone, chances were I just assume I'm getting potential spam or whatever. There's so many calls where you just answer it and it's like nothing, or answer it and like blah, blah, blah. But your name's on my phone, dude. Call me anytime, man. You having a struggle, just call me up, dude. Talk about it and work through it. And yes, there are people praying for you, bro. It's a thing. I watched it happen. I figured I'd tell you now.
Yeah.
I've prayed with you. I prayed with you outside the show one time.
I know.
But I just want you to know that there are actually groups of people praying for you. So
it felt good to hear that, because I only sometimes feel all I have is my wife, and I feel like that's all I really need. But at the end of the day, like you guys are my world. Like this, as much as Barczyk loves the community, I love the community too. Like even though there's times where it's like, whoa, what's he saying, dude? This is my home. Like I love this place. And that's why I have no choice but to want to become a better person, because I want to be that person people look at and say, fuck, if he could do it, I could do it. You know what I mean? But it feels good to wake up knowing that I'm going to be better today. Like, that's another thing that gets me out of bed is I'm finding ways to improve every fucking day. And that's just either that's going to the gym or whatever it is. Like it feels good to just wanting to find out how to get better. You know what I mean? And not getting offended from someone who could teach you how to get better. That's why I love jiu-jitsu, bro. That's the most humbling thing I've ever went through in my entire life. Like reptile world taught me maturity, but then jiu-jitsu, whole nother level of maturity, bro. Like, oh my God, you know? And it just
very humbling to be smashed down on the mat.
I mean, you have somebody who could literally take your life, and panicking is the last thing you can do. But how do you not panic? It's just hard. It's a lot harder. It's just, but then again, it's life, right? Like here we are, we're talking about like plates being so stacked. Well, what are we going to do? Throw the plate and panic? No, we got to take deep breaths. We got to calm down and find out how to balance this shit, bro. You know what I mean? And one of the things that one of my weaknesses in jiu-jitsu was my breathing. I wouldn't breathe. Motherfuckers would be like, yo, you need to breathe. You're going to pass out. Because I'm like, really, I'm freaking out. But really like breathing and just like, and I think a lot of people out there who are like panicking and having a hard time, they just need to breathe. Like you need to breathe. And like the whole count to 10 thing, that's a real thing, just so you know. Like maybe it's more to 100, but counting and just calming the breath down, that's a real deal practice. Why do you think there's breath coaches out there? People think my boy Socrates is weird because he's a legit breath coach. And I've been through one of his fucking trials, and it's intense, but breathing is everything. A lot of people don't understand how important breathing is and the way you breathe. It's fucking insane. So anyways, I don't want to go on that rant, but
no, yeah, breathing is very important. I mean, that's like as far as living on Earth right now, that's the most important thing. You know, you need to eat. You can probably go about 40 days or so without that. You need water. You can probably go about 3 days or so without that. Breathing, you got about 3 minutes probably if you're an elite breather. So yeah, it's important. That's without even thinking about it, that's maybe one of those things like that's part of, you know, that God has put into my life is like how important what you're talking about right there is the breathing. Like I actually do a lot of it. I've done a lot. I know Patrick does too. Yeah. Like just working on breathing, like actually working on breathing. I mean, I was doing it yesterday. You know, I'd sprint like a half mile or close to a sprint, like going kind of as fast as I can. And I did like 8 times, and in between each one, I'd try to get my breath back to as calm as it can be after running that fast. And then all kinds of different breath. I used to just wake up in the morning in Hawaii and just practice breathing as slowly as I possibly could. It's definitely helpful. I mean, yeah.
But you know what's crazy is if someone looks into how to like take care, like self-care is everything, right? But it's a whole lifestyle. And the more you look into how to take better care of yourself, you're going to see so many remedies out there, which are nuts. Like, you know, like the cold plunging thing, like, holy shit. Like I was this close. Me and my wife almost bought one, like the XL.
I'm also this close. I'm right there.
My wife stopped me. She's like, listen, I know for a fucking fact this thing's gonna get used like once every 3 months. And I'm like, and I like sat there and marinated it, and I'm like, come on, bro, like, are you really ready to use this every day? And it got in my head, and I stopped.
Well, I learned that it's I don't want to get too off topic from Brian, but that is a good one. That my first time in a cold plunge tub was at Brian's house with you. And I've learned that, like they say, about 11 minutes a week total is like the way you see the most benefits. So you don't need to go in it every day. Just maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, or 3 minutes, like 3 or 4 times a week, maybe. Anyway.
Right. I mean, I follow Joe Rogan. He does like 30-day challenges and shit like that, and he's fucking doing it in goddamn 20-degree weather. And I don't know, but also, like, from what I hear, like, it replaces the coffee. Like, that's your energy. If you're able to like routinely do that, it's supposed to give you energy throughout the whole entire day. And I will tell you, the time I did it for 2 minutes, okay, maybe it was like 1:30, but the time I did do it for like longer than 20 seconds, dude, I felt like a burst of fucking energy. Like, I felt like I was ready to kind of take on the world after my body warmed up. Like, it was kind of an intense feeling, you know?
Yeah, that was a game changer. You know, that's the thing that's blowing my mind this last, especially this last couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Is like how much of an influence Brian had on my life, even though we spent, you hear people called influencers on social media, and that's definitely a thing. And as we were talking about earlier, like, everybody has some sort of influence in the world. It's crazy the amount of influence that Brian Barczyk has had on my life in more ways than I ever realized, as the longer I think about it. You know, like even with the cold plunge thing, like that's a game changer for my life. And that was another one from him. It's crazy.
Well, Brian, again, can't thank you enough. I appreciate you. Tell your wife I said thank you, and you being able to do this away from the family. I know it's a lot and it means a lot. So thank you so much, and appreciate it. And I know I already asked you if there's anything you have to say, but one more time, is there anything you want to say to anyone out there who really loved tonight's show? Like you, I'm asking you, Brian.
Just keep Brian in your hearts. You know, you're sad about Brian being gone from Earth. Just don't forget about him. Don't forget about what he stands for.
Right.
And stand for that too.
Can you, one last favor I have to ask from you, can you please tell Calvin Garcia to text me back?
Calvin, text MJ back if you would.
Oh, thank you.
And also come over. Calvin,
I
said
did
you were
with
coming
Calvin.
over. It's like the weekend and stuff, so come over.
I want you back in my life, Calvin. Whoa, pause. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. Hey, Kusko, enjoy your night. And everyone out there, please give it up for my boy, Brian Kusko, ladies and gentlemen.
Love you guys.
Have a good night, man. Thank you
Love
so
you,
much, bro.
Thank
Peace.
you, man.
All right. I could breathe. I feel good. Thank you. And I'm sorry if this was a heavy episode, which I know it was, and you're like in your bed crying and you're like eating ice cream and shit, which sounds good. I'm sorry, but what needs to be done is what needs to be done. And nobody deserves this type of like tribute and like honor like Brian Barczyk, you know? Forgot to ask Kusko, we need to think of a Brian Barczyk day. I know everyone out there is down for a Brian Barczyk day. Maybe the day the legacy opens, I don't know. But mark my words, let's get that energy out there. We need a Brian Barczyk day, 110%. So, and I'll keep that energy on that 110%. So I will say, guys, thank you to all the love, man. Fuck, so many people here for Barczyk tonight, and that just really means everything to me. So it's not too late to get the likes up. The likes are super up, and I appreciate it. But hit the like button for Barczyk if you were inspired. If this episode hit you anywhere in the heart and you feel some type of way, hit that like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Anything, any feedback, any prayers or anything you would like to give towards this episode, drop that in the comment section. I appreciate, again, all the love and support. Everyone, again, on the live chats, anyone who gave their Friday night to us, thank you so much. But that's all we have on this episode. Special Friday night Trap Talk Reptile episode in the books. Brian, I love you. Barczyk, thank you for everything. And yeah, man, we'll catch you guys on the next Trap Talk Reptile podcast. Hope you guys have a good night, man. Enjoy your weekend. Be kind to each other and love yourself. Love yourself. Have a good night.